Welcome everybody, happy Wednesday. And I hope you're ready for an evening of intense adventuring. What is up, Sword Fam? What is up, lurkers in chat, VOD viewers, and everybody else? Welcome, and I hope you are having a delightful Wednesday so far. Sword Fam becoming a Dragon Master. We've had an influx of Dragon Masters recently, but that's fine. More of us to uphold the Code of the Dragon. Whatever it is it says. Something about, you know, not hurting people and, I don't know, being wise and coming up with new rules whenever it's convenient. You know, it's fine. I trust you to work out the details, Sword Fam. You'll be a fine Dragon Master, I'm sure. Professor KV, good evening, good evening. Tonight we are yet again finding ourselves with the challenge, the quest, the mission, if you will, to decipher inscrutable French adventure gaming. And for, I guess, about the third or so stream, trying to maybe see if we could potentially finish Operation Stealth, aka the Stealth Affair. I feel like we're at least at this point nearing what appears to be something we could reasonably call the latter parts of the game. I don't know. I don't know how much is left, but we are like, we've located the stealth plane. I mean, not like, we don't have visual, but we're in this underwater subterranean hidden base somewhere within which the illegally abducted stealth airplane is supposedly located. We have received a computer virus compact disc or whatever that we're supposed to infect the plane with, such that its stealth capabilities are compromised so that it can be detected and recovered. However, standing in our way, despite our best efforts and despite our, I would say, fairly steady progress up to a point, are various lapses in logic and common sense. For a good amount of time, for a good couple of hours, one might say that standing in our way was the elusive, mythical elastic band. But the mythical elastic band has been recovered. We have procured it. It sits safely within our inventory, waiting for some kind of explanation or deduction as to how the heck it's supposed to help us. All we know is that it's a crucial item that we went back to get. We had to redo some maces. We had to kind of check back in on multiple points of the game. We eventually scoured the literal bottom of the ocean to find an elastic band tied to the bottom of a bunch of seaweed. But we got it. And the only thing I know about it is that if we didn't have it, we would definitely be stuck. We would be unable to finish the game. We have the mythical rubber band, and we just have to figure out how it's going to help us. And I don't know if the scene that we're in is where it's going to be needed or if it's later. But we've got bigger fish to fry? I don't know. The point we're at in the game, where we are going to be picking up right now in a few moments, is literally the exact same spot that we started on Monday. So the entirety of Monday's stream was basically spent retracing our steps, catching back up, redoing some stuff to get the rubber band, to discover as well that the ink pad that I could find in this location was also an item that you could collect in your inventory. So we're kind of back to where we were on Monday, except with 2 more inventory items. The challenge, as has been the case, is not to figure out what we're meant to do, really, in a broad sense, but rather how specifically the game intends for us to do the thing. And on Monday, we had the respite of knowing that, well, there might be some other stuff we missed. You know, the game actually hints at this rubber band. So having a feeling that, you know, maybe that the weird hint that you get that's so on the nose to the point of seeming like a joke turns out to not be a joke, but in fact a message added seemingly begrudgingly by the developers on a later release of the game, presumably due to complaints that the rubber band was such a incredibly easy to miss object with no explanation to why you would need it until you do, that they just added it, I guess. But it's so on the nose that it sounds like, again, it sounds like they whoever added that message wasn't enthused about adding it, because it's got that same flippant, sarcastic, almost insulting tone that a lot of the game's narration has for some reason. So I wasn't sure what to make of it, but eventually, because I was tired of being stuck figuring out the whole fingerprint situation, I was like, well, let's just go back to earlier saves and see if we can find ourselves an elastic band. We eventually did. We found our way back, and you know, as annoying as it is to have to go back, it was still kind of nice to know what to do, like to have an objective that we could achieve. But now, where we will be resuming shortly, we have the elastic band, and without, you know, fishing out any specific details, I basically had Chad confirm to me that there's no other things, like we're good. We have everything we need to progress. We are not soft locked. We have everything we need. Which, you know, might on the surface sound like it's going to be reassuring. And on some level it is. But at the same time, it means that we have no escape. We're stuck in these hallways. We're stuck trying to figure out the fingerprint situation or whatever it is. And we're going to keep banging our head against this for the next couple of hours, I suspect. We'll see how it goes. What's up, Mini Roach? No, the rubber band has so far seen no use whatsoever. I had a couple of ideas. I was not able to make them pan out. But the way this game works, you can never rule out an idea entirely. Like, you cannot have an idea, try it out, have it fail, and then rule it out. Because the interface is a little strange, and the way the game is very particular about how you do certain things. And it is very poor at giving feedback on, like, either you do something successfully or you get zero feedback. So there's no hinting, really. There's nothing to kind of guide you along and point you in the right direction. So then you try something and it does not work. The difference between being 90% correct and having made a slight, you know, mistake, it's not even a mistake, but like doing something just slightly different from how the game wants you to do it, but otherwise being completely correct on one hand, and like having a completely wild, completely incorrect idea. These two things are completely indistinguishable in the game. In good adventure games, if you try something where the game can pick up on the fact that you are attempting to do something, you're kind of on the right train of thought, that tends to give you some sort of a response to further guide you along. Or even just like doing something completely wrong, the character, like say you're using an object on another object and it doesn't work, the character might react saying, well, I think what I need is something along these lines, or like I need to achieve this. Operation Stealth has no such pleasantries. Yeah, it's a lot of, you're kind of battling the parser, trying to put together commands to have Bond do whatever it is you want them to do, and hope that the game agrees that that's the correct grammar, basically. We'll get into it shortly. But a few quick side notes. The past couple of weeks before we kind of got back into Bond, we did a lot of unboxing streams and chatting streams and watching some trailers and stuff. And there's actually been a kind of slew of new fighting game footage coming out of the past couple of days. Namco have been going wild, releasing not just the expected Jack 8 and June trailers, but they just released a Xiao Yu trailer today. She was not revealed or announced in any capacity until today, but apparently there's also been like press hands-on stuff. Like I didn't read anything, but I saw links to some articles, and of course we know that the game's going to be playable at EVO Japan this weekend. So I was expecting them to release trailers for every announced character up until then, but I guess there's more characters, and I feel like they've been releasing trailers almost daily recently, so could there be another trailer tomorrow before EVO? Possible, who knows. I'm gonna want to catch up on those trailers because I didn't watch any of them, and I didn't watch the Lars trailer either, I don't think. There was also the new developer match from Street Fighter 6 showing off Cammy and Manon, with some cool, interesting stuff in it too. But if we watch that, that's going to be like a 2-hour stream. So I don't know. But on that note, this weekend, as mentioned, is EVO Japan, so that is likely going to have an impact on my stream schedule. I don't know exactly how or when or to what capacity, but I will want to watch as much as possible of EVO Japan. And the broadcast hours is like basically from midnight-ish till, I don't know, 4 in the afternoon maybe. So it'll be live during those hours, but I feel like my evening hours, I will kind of want to spend catching up on stuff that I wasn't able to watch live. So I might just skip Saturday streams altogether, or maybe we do a shorter stream or a later stream. I'm pretty sure we'll just skip out on movie night as well for similar reasons. I feel like, the event's going through, Friday through Sunday. So even by the time I would do Saturday stream, 2 of 3 days will have finished. So there's probably already going to have been some interesting news and announcements. Arika has been showing off a new version of Fighting EX Layer, which they today confirmed will be playable at EVO Japan as well. So there's going to be a shit ton of fighting game shit to talk about. I guess if nothing else, Monday's stream is going to be real interesting. We'll see. But there's a lot of fighting game stuff going on, and because I'm fairly invested in wanting to catch as much as possible of EVO Japan, we'll see what impact that will have on the stream, but it is likely that it's going to have some kind of impact. But also, if we, by some stroke of luck, can wrap up the Stealth Affair tonight, that leaves us with a clean slate to focus on some more fighting game news and shit. Possibly on Saturday, but certainly on Monday. NPC, what is up? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of Cave is pointing out, LucasArts definitely did a lot of good work in pushing the point-and-click adventure genre in a direction of accessibility and quality of life, I suppose, is a good way of putting it. Like, it's not really about making them easier, because I don't think the stuff that can be so aggravating about a lot of those games, it feels strange to talk about it in terms of difficulty or challenge, because it's more to do with like testing your patience, just being incredibly annoying and sort of taking you out of it. and making it unpleasant to play. I don't think failure states and deaths necessarily have like no place in adventure games, but there are ways to do it that are more palatable than others. And the funny thing is with Operation Stealth, though, is that I think I had the impression, based on what I'd heard about the game previously and what I'd heard people saying about Delphine's adventure games in general, is that it would be like that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like when people complain about adventure games being annoying or difficult or hostile even, I think that people often point to that kind of thing. Like, that's the easy thing to think of specifically. Like, oh, you ate the pie in King's Quest V, so then when you fight the Yeti or whatever it is, you don't have the pie to throw at it, so you can't bypass it, so you're stuck. And the game gave you no, like, the game lets you eat the pie with no warning. When you get the pie, there's no indication that, you know, 6 to 12 hours from now you might need this to distract a abominable snowman. You just have to, like, know that, like, well, this is an item, so I'd better hold on to it, like, because otherwise it might screw me over. The funny thing is that, like, that has not really been the issue with Operation Stealth. It's had a little bit of that. Like, it's had missable items. It's had sudden, you know, death and failure states. But even with the elusive mythical elastic band, it's not like I was stuck on where I needed it, and then I had to go back, and once I got it, it's like, oh, geez, now I can do the puzzle. I still don't even know what it's for. I just know that I need to get it. Which is, like, amusingly backwards for that kind of thing. Now, the bigger issue for sure with Operation Stealth is just the overall lack of feedback. Like, there's a lack of feedback and a lack of communication on behalf of the game. Like, it's very lacking in, like, flavor text and just, like, setting the mood, but also communicating. Like, the narration is so weird and it's so inconsistent. Sometimes it's Bond narrating, sometimes there's an actual narrator, sometimes it feels like the game is just yelling at you for trying things. But when you have an idea, you never get, like, the game never acknowledges what the idea was and whether it was clever or anything, unless it's like the 1% of things that you can do that actually progresses the game, in which case it'll progress but barely feel rewarding. Which character is the most interesting from a drawing standpoint? Do you mind clarifying or specifying that question? I'm not sure how to take it. If you're talking about Tekken or Street Fighter or what have you. In any case, Operation Stealth has been... I've had a good time with it, but I don't think it's a very good game. I think it has some very, very fundamental flaws in its puzzle design. And although it's got great art, it's got a few cool set pieces, on the whole, they absolutely don't make up for the shortcomings. Like, it's not even that I would say a super interesting thing to, like, oh, you know, Bond fans should check this out, because it's such a... I mean, it didn't start its life as a Bond game. The license was kind of slapped on, and it's... funnily enough, like, despite its sophistication visually and everything compared to what came before, it doesn't have a very strong Bond feeling to it, which is understandable because it was sort of a pastiche parody kind of thing. So the tone is all weird. You know, there's a guy who the game calls Q that gives you gadgets, but, like, it just doesn't, you know, none of the specifics are right. And for a game of this style where you would expect a certain amount of prose and you know, a level of writing quality, and certainly for that to have the ability to really deliver on the atmosphere and feeling of Bond, like, it absolutely drops the ball on that front. Speaking of Street Fighter characters, I don't know, like I draw a lot of Street Fighter stuff, and I have done so for the last 30 years. There are some characters that I draw more often, or you know, have drawn more than others. But I wouldn't say that I have a clear favorite. Like, Cammy's probably maybe the character that I've drawn the most, and she's always been one of my favorite characters. But honestly, when it comes to drawing, and it's not the greatest time to ask me this either, because I am still, I would say, kind of pushing through a very lengthy art block. I haven't touched any kind of, well, aside from work stuff, but I haven't done any personal drawing for like almost 6 months. And I think, like, my real answer to the question would be kind of you know, it's a matter of inspiration. It's a matter of how the mood strikes at a certain moment in time, and right now it's not really striking anyway at all. So I think that's the best answer I can give to that kind of question at the moment. No, I mean, that's fine. I don't mind the question. I just don't have a great answer for you right now. But I don't know. I like, you know, when I was doing the art request stuff, like, part of the reason I wanted to do that was pushing myself to get a little bit out of my comfort zone and practice drawing things I wouldn't choose to draw otherwise, and having a little help in, like, picking subjects to draw, because otherwise I can get, like, that's part of what I can get stuck on sometimes. So that was really fun. But and I still have a few lingering requests from last summer that I need to get to, and I look forward to having that wrapped up, because it was there's 100 requests and I finished 95, I think, and I think there's five or six left. So that'll make for a nice completed project. And I have some thoughts for other stuff I want to get to, but at the same time, like, I can't start on other creative projects really until I finish that up. So that's part of why I really want to get to that as soon as I can. And I don't know, now that I have my new PC, I've thought, like, that's maybe gonna help a little bit take care of a few technical issues I had with my old PC. I still didn't get around to hooking up and trying out my also relatively new tablet screen to get some drawing done, but who knows, maybe over Easter weekend I'll finally get around to it. We'll see. But anyway, drawing is fun. Just sometimes I have more motivation and inspiration to do it than other times. What's up, Rune G? For the reminder. Should probably hydrate a little bit. NPC redeemed collection lore. It's funny, after I was tasked to give some lore last time, I actually took 2 minutes to try to think of something to have ready on hand in the off chance that someone would redeem it today too. So it's a good thing I did. So let's change gears altogether before we move over to the game eventually. I was, as I usually do, trying to figure something out for collection lore. I was sifting through my shelves, and I found this stuff that I was kind of sort of forgotten. These are some prints that I made a while back, a long time ago actually, of quality Mega Drive box art of Bare Knuckle 2 and 3. So these are, and I have the Bare Knuckle 1 cover as well, but it's actually hanging on the wall in my office right now. There was like a there was a hook on the wall near my desk, so I was like, you know what, I'll just hang this up. But yeah, longtime viewers may be familiar with the fact that I am borderline obsessed with quality video game box art. And Mega Drive covers are like categorically my favorite for sure. I like the form factor of the cases. I like the sort of painted style that many covers had. Obviously the Japanese ones especially. I love the fact that, as you can see here, the Japanese covers didn't have a lot of graphics obscuring the canvas, so to speak. You just have the full size artwork, and the coolest ones often also had like full wraparound covers the back. So the artwork here, like this is scanned, I can't remember. I know for a fact that this one, Bare Knuckle 3, this is, I scanned this off my personal copy of the game. And I think, I don't own Bare Knuckle 2 on the Mega Drive, so I know this wouldn't have been scanned from my collection, but I can't remember if I may have borrowed a copy to scan this, or if I had a friend scan it, or possibly if I just grabbed it off of Sega Retro or something. But going back to about like 2006, when I first started collecting, I have off again, on again, been doing like scanning covers and stuff from my collection in like 600 DPI quality, as nicely as I can, in order to, for example, do things like this. And I was actually very inspired when I was in Tokyo, in Akihabara, and some of the retro or video game shops there. I know they had it at Super Potato, but I think I saw it in other places too. They would have, especially in the stairwell, but even in some other places too, in the the few spots where there were like empty space on walls and ceilings, they would just like sort of plaster like screenshots from Famicom games all over the wall. And I thought that was just really cool. And I thought it would be sick to do something similar with some of my favorite like covers. So that's partially why I first started to like scan some of the boxes and stuff in my collection to have like resources for something like that. And it still hasn't ever really materialized. Like these things are kind of the closest. I have done a couple of like custom cases. I know I've shown some of those on stream before, where I've got these like third-party Mega Drive case, like Mega Drive shaped cases, but they're like modern reproductions. And I've done custom covers for some Super Famicom games, where I've scanned, either used original scans from the boxes or like sourced other artworks and stuff to create like custom cases designed to look kind of retail ish. But this, like I said, I've had other ideas. So this was something I kind of did as a test. I got a couple of these frames for cheap, and so obviously this is at about, I would say 250% scale maybe, and it still holds up very well. Like you'd have to look up real close to see any, I mean it certainly doesn't look like pixely or anything, but it's maybe not like as sharp, although I reckon you could probably throw like a sharpening filter on it. It looks good though, and it depends on the quality of the scan, of course. Like this, I mean it's not gonna show up well on stream, but the quality, like I think the Bare Knuckle 3 cover is just a higher quality scan that I had to work from. So there's a bunch of color correction and a bit of luck being able to print CMYK colors and have it look okay. And this, by the way, happens to be one of my favorite Mega Drive covers, and by extension favorite video game cover arts of all time. So I kind of did this as a test, and then I was like, well, I still don't really have anywhere to hang them or any kind of plan for them. But I had some ideas, like what I wanted to have, like for example, like all 3 Bare Knuckle covers. It would be nice to have like, some of my other just favorite games or favorite covers in general. But I like the idea of having them kind of as a set. I would like hang them together somewhere, I guess. I was thinking of doing the same with like the Phantasy Star covers, which I'm not big into RPGs or those games, but they have nice artwork and they make for a nice set, and like for a Mega Drive themed sort of display, especially, Phantasy Star is, it's Phantasy Star, What's up, new and tasty sixth house? Greetings, greetings. Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, I'm not sure if I have any of them here. I guess not. Nope. I cannot be bothered walking all the way over to my shelf. But I've shown them at times before. Okay. Scary noise that my chair just made. But yeah, like, I'm very passionate about cover art, and it's fun to do cool stuff with it. And I mean, I collect art books and stuff like that too, and I think there's just something as convenient as it is to have stuff in digital form and being able to look at but also work with them on your computer by, you know, integrating artwork in whatever you might be making. There's something to be said for the tangible nature of a physical artifact, as well as the just enjoying and seeing artwork on like an analog surface. Especially, of course, if you you know, you frame it, you hang it, you light it, you do something with it. But just in general, I think there's just something more enjoyable, and it's very it's very vague and it's very like abstract. But there's just something to having an actual piece to enjoy that isn't just like a JPEG. But there's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of games I would and other, like, you know, artworks, obviously, you know, Street Fighter and other Capcom stuff, there's like a billion cool artworks that I would, and in some cases have printed like as posters. But I like just the format and everything, and like specifically having this kind of focus. Like, I would love to like get a dozen or two of these frames and have like just specifically Mega Drive cover arts, because that has like a certain meaning and purpose to me. But obviously there's no shortage of other cool artwork. What American cover art would you hang on your wall? I mean, nothing immediately comes to mind. That's not to say that there is no single instance of American cover art looking good, but for me, like, my particular obsession, I don't know, like, my particular fascination, we can call it, with cover arts is like pretty specifically rooted in, like, it's kind of inextricably linked to my getting into collecting games, getting into learning Japanese, getting into learning more about games in Japan and the history of the industry and the medium, like with a pretty specific focus on the sort of Japanese side of things. And as far as the artistry goes, like, yeah, I have a lot of appreciation for a lot of stuff that happened in other parts of the world, but there's not necessarily a huge overlap in what I appreciate and like the way I appreciate video game box art with any of those things. I'm sure someone could think of an example. I could look at something and go, yeah, that is pretty sick. And, you know, I mean, there's like Eternal Champions just comes to mind. Like, if we're thinking within the realm of Mega Drive stuff, you know, Eternal Champion is an American game. They had Julie Bell paint the cover, and, you know, they used the same illustration with a slightly different layout for Japan, but like, that illustration is cool, and it is by all means an American cover art. And I'm sure there's other examples like that. Yeah, that's fine. You can post a link. I don't mind. And I'm sure you could even find some example of a Japanese game that had a completely different box art for America, where I find the American one unobjectionable. But I think for the Mega Drive, or like that era of games in general, those examples would be very, very rare. So if someone was like, well, okay, here's the deal. You're gonna hang 12 video game covers on your wall, and 3 of them have to be American. You know, I could figure that out, I'm sure. But in terms of my own personal pursuit of what I would be interested in, like, you know, not looking at it as like, what are some arts I like, or what slots on my wall would I want to fill, but like specifically kind of going through what am I, like, some of my favorite artworks, or something that has a meaning and impact to me personally that I just have strong feelings for. I don't think there are any like American games or American covers that makes that cut, at least like just off the top of my head. Because I mean, I think even Castlevania was brought up previously here in chat, and I think a bunch of those covers, the American ones, were made by, what's his name, Tom Dubois, right? And personally, I have very mixed feelings on those. I think some of them are cool. I think many of them have very odd compositional and kind of anatomical weirdnesses going on. But they have a very kind of raw energy that I think is cool. The other thing that I sort of find objectionable about them, in a sense, is that that artist had a very distinct style that was used for like all the covers. Like all the Western Konami covers, almost all of them. It doesn't matter if it's TMNT, Castlevania, Contra, Goemon, Sunset Riders. I'm sure there's other things. But if you look at like the Super Nintendo installments of those series, the American covers have like the exact same art style. So it's like by definition not representative of the game. And even though, again, in isolation, some of those illustrations are pretty cool, to me, I can't help but feel like they're kind of they're a little bit divorced from the game itself. And I think that's a thing I've always sort of taken issue with. Like, once I started learning more about Japanese video game cover arts, I like, when you kind of start seeing art that actually represents the game and the game's aesthetics and art style, seeing stuff that just doesn't do that immediately becomes like a, for me anyway, it just becomes a huge kind of turn off. So I think like that era, and the thing with Castlevania specifically is that a lot of the Japanese ones weren't amazing either. Like the first Akumajo Dracula, Super Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo, like the Japanese cover is pretty ghetto. It's like not a great, I mean, I like it, but in terms of like the painterly craft on display, it's like a little bit amateurish in a way. So I wouldn't fault anyone for preferring the American artwork for that game, but I don't really love that either. But I will say that the Akumajo Dracula Double X, the last, like the Rondo of Blood adaptation on Super Famicom, the Japanese cover art for that, which was also used in the PAL version, but extremely awkwardly cropped, is fucking phenomenal. I forget the name of the artist, but it's like some famous artist who did the cover, and that is up there with like one of my with my favorite Super Famicom box arts of all time. And the PC Engine cover is like whatever, it's fine, neither good or bad, I think. Obviously, once you get to the Aime Kojima artworks, they're gorgeous, and I like those. But at that point, we're like kind of past. There's something particular about that era, like up through the PS1-ish. And I mean, of course, even today, you occasionally get covers that can sort of elicit a similar response by having like an evocative style that, you know, you never see that in the West, and even in Japan it's rare, but it happens. But the style of the day, you know, at that time, with all kind of you know, video game artworks, a lot of it was done analog, whether it was like marker drawings or you know, watercolor paintings or whatever. It's really cool shit. And so like once stuff started becoming more digital, you get more CG stuff, like my interest sort of wanes. So even though there are individual cover arts from any era that can look phenomenal, like it's basically sort of up through the 16-bit consoles where my interest lies. And even then, like I would say the 16-bit consoles more specifically, and even more specifically the Mega Drive, are the ones I'm like really passionate about. But a lot of cool artworks for you know, from any era. Obviously, you know, going back further to the like the awesome paintings for the like Atari 2600 boxes and shit. There's some cool stuff for sure. But anyway, I like video game box art, but I think we need to wrap up this conversation and move on to some Bond gaming, or else we'll be here all night and we'll get no closer to finding a use for our elusive elastic band. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Well, let's get to some Bond gaming. As usual, we shall boot things up and get to the copy protection. Let's see if we can get this sorted. Fade away those jams. We'll speed this up a little bit. Yeah, Splatterhouse was cool. And speaking of, I'm pretty sure that Julie Bell also did the Splatterhouse Part 3 cover, which I wouldn't say is my favorite Splatterhouse or Mega Drive cover or Julie Bell artwork. But it's pretty cool, and it's not a poor fit for the game. I mean, it's interesting, you know. Julie Bell and Boris Vallejo were they did quite a few video game covers, especially for Sega stuff, but not exclusively. And their styles are cool. You know, they're very famous and accomplished artists, and I think it's awesome to see video games kind of get established artists to do their thing for a game. And it's going to, of course, inevitably not fit the game. Or, you know, it's going to be something, you know, unless they had that person work on the game, which I don't think ever happened, it's going to be artistically something different. But at least in some cases, you end up with something that feels, you know, has the right vibe for a game, which is kind of funny to think, because, you know, you wouldn't necessarily say that Splatterhouse 3 and Eternal Champions and Echo the Dolphin have the same vibe, but that they, you know, art style works. But obviously, you know, the quality of the art itself can trump a lot of that too. Like when you have the transition from a Japanese game to America, you know, and they with completely different art that has a completely different style, more often than not, when that happened, it was a massive step down in quality as well, which is like a big issue. But like with the Konami examples, some of those games for sure didn't have a worse, you know, lower quality artwork in the American version. They just had a stylistic kind of departure that I was maybe not a fan of. Depends on what it is. Yeah, 3 is like it's like super buff shirtless Rick is standing with his like halberd or whatever, and yeah, there's like a big monster coming through a doorway and there's like light shining through. I'm actually drawing a bit of a blank on what Part 2's cover looks like off the top of my head, but yeah, that's the Part 3 cover. But yeah, I mean, as far as like established artists who, you know, may or may not be more established within games or not, but like Katsuya Terada has painted some of my favorite video game boxes. Noriyoshi Orai, of course, who's like the god of, I mean, he's one of the gods, was, I guess, God rest his soul. I mean, he kind of cut his teeth painting like fantasy novel covers and stuff, but he's probably most famous for Star Wars posters and Godzilla posters, and he did a lot of movie posters, but also a bunch of like Koei game boxes, and they look fucking phenomenal. And I mean, there's like Suemi Jun and Hitoshi Yoneda and a bunch of other, like, basically a bunch of these like super accomplished fantasy painters who just, you know, got hired to do sick cover arts for games. Pretty fond of that shit. All right, let's figure out this color. I believe this is dark blue. Let's cross-reference our two versions here. Yep, looks like it. And that is okay. That looks like brown to me. Yep. All right, we got it. The intro's so good. We're gonna sit through it once again. Not the most beautiful artwork in the game, but it's still pretty cool. What's up, Roboto-san? I mean, yeah, there's a very rich legacy of European painters, some of which certainly rubbed off on games. And I mean, I think it's fairly well established that when we talk about like shitty Western cover arts, 99 times out of the 100, it was something that was done in America for America. And in Europe, we tended to often get the kind of American hand-me-downs, which would often include shitty box art. You know, like with the Super Nintendo, for example, the US and PAL video or boxes for the Super Nintendo were not identical, but they were at the same shape at least. Whereas the Super Famicom boxes were very different. So a lot of the times, you know, we kind of just inherited the shitty American covers, and the same was true for the Mega Drive. But there's more than a few examples of specifically the American version looking the shittest, whereas the PAL version would either retain the original Japanese artwork or have its own thing that looked at least significantly better than the American one. Yeah, like in some cases, like I mentioned with Akumajo Dracula Double X, you know, it's one of the rare Konami, or sorry, one of the rare Super Famicom covers that it's not like full frame, but the like the artwork fits the vertical format of the box very well. Like many Super Nintendo or Super Famicom covers specifically, you know, despite the very tall box, have artwork that cover like 60% of the height, and the rest of it is just like blank. Capcom were pretty bad with that, despite having very high quality art. It was just like it didn't fit the format of the box very well at all. But that one does, and it's like super gorgeous. So for the PAL version, they took like basically a strip in the center of it. So they took like, you know, they cropped out a good 70% of it to use what was left for the PAL cover. Whereas the American version, I believe, uses the same artwork as the PC Engine game. Which is like an alright cover, which is probably easier to adapt to the American Super Nintendo box. But the art itself, like the newly created art for the Super Famicom game, is way better. Yes, what we saw in the intro was the super secret stealth plane being hijacked and stolen. So that's why James Bond is being called in by the CIA to go on a secret mission to recover it. and the Soviets may have been involved, but appear to not be directly responsible. The stealth plane has been spotted in the fictional country of Santa Paragua. We travel there to figure out what the heck's going on. To recap, as you can see here, we've done a bunch of gaming here since the game started. But I guess, you know, we get to our contact, he's immediately killed. We're searching for this like envelope of secret files about the stealth plane, and just as we're about to grab them from a safety deposit box in the bank, we're accosted by a couple of Russian agents. Get thrown in a cave, we escape, and we make our way back to the hotel, where we are briefly confused with some guy named Otto who looks exactly like Bond and is some fancy higher up dude who is like basically seems responsible, at least in part, for the corruption, I guess, of General Manigua, who is now the dictator of Santa Paragua, ruling with an iron rod, which I guess is an expression, as we learned recently. There's a resistance movement led, or at least, featuring well, I don't remember if she was the daughter or sister or niece or something. She was related to Manigua anyway. Her and I got thrown into the ocean. We escaped. We got to, I guess, Otto's headquarters, whatever, his mansion, his fancy office, where we investigated the statue to find a hidden safe. We got the documents, but right as we extracted the documents from the safe, Otto and his mercenary henchmen showed up, as well as the Russian agents, so we had to take to a jet ski chase. And we were rescued by the head of CIA, who is now in a submarine. We basically got a briefing on the details of those documents, something like that. And we're somehow able to trace the stealth bomber to this mysterious signal several hundred feet underground. We went swimming. We picked up, at least when we went back to do this the second time, an elastic band from some seaweed. Then we made it into the secret HQ lair. We were stuck in a piranha death trap. We brilliantly escaped. We did some more shitty mazes. And made our way out into the bathroom. And then we'll just blow the most recent save. We attacked a guard. We tied him up so we could steal his henchman's uniform. And we're now like infiltrating the lair. And we are blocked by a door with some kind of fingerprint lock. So we can wander around through a couple of screens here. And we've been able to collect a few items along the way inside this facility here. And now we're sort of stuck here. There's a security door with a fingerprint ID. Oh yeah, the pathfinding is a bit messed up. When we met with the head of CIA and Q in the submarine, we were given some additional equipment. We got the compact disc, which contains the computer virus that we're going to infect the stealth plane with. We got a cigarette case, and the cigarette case contains 3 kinds of cigarettes: red, blue, and gold. The manual lets us know that the manual features a list of gadgets that are featured in the game. It explains them quite poorly, but you can sort of deduce some things at least. The manual explains that there is one type of cigarette that can fire a rocket, and we know that that's the red one because if you try to operate the red cigarette, it will immediately explode and kill you. But operating the yellow or the blue cigarettes, or the gold or blue, will just unfurl the cigarette. You'll keep the paper and throw away the tobacco. The other cigarette gadget that we have is something to do with fingerprints, and I think we should look at the manual again to just make sure that we're operating on fresh and accurate knowledge of at least what the manual says. Whether the manual is actually truthful in how it explains the gadget and how it works is extremely debatable. But if I'm going off of my vague recollection of what it said, then we're even further removed from the truth. So we should probably look that up again. We have the mythical elastic band here. The pen and the watch we've had for a long time. We used both of them to escape the death trap. The pen contains acid that you can use to melt a lock to a cage, for example. And the watch contains like a grappling hook wire sort of thing that we could use to climb out of death traps, for example. We have collected an ink pad. We have collected a mission instruction, which is some sort of card that we found in the pocket of some clothes that says to buy all the excellent Delphine software games. We have an empty glass that we are going to use to fill up with water fountain water so that we can give this to the officer so that he can turn his back drinking the water, so that we can take our stamp. Unless this is the one. Maybe we already did this. I have to check. But you take an empty stamp and you swap it with the stamp he has on his desk so that you have his stamp. You then can use that with the ink pad to stamp the mission instruction to get an authorized mission. We have yet to find a use for this, but presumably there's going to be some kind of checkpoint or something past this door where we need to show someone mission authorization to be let through. The electric razor is like a tape recorder. We used this at the very beginning of the game to listen to a mission briefing. The red carnation we put in our buttonhole, as the game so beautifully puts it, as an identifier for our clandestine meeting at the very beginning. And I assume that this is the case for the disc. The game is a little bit unclear, and as usual, if I try to examine the case to understand what this item even is, I find nothing. The examine command is like nigh useless. Almost always you get a complete nothingness description. So that's pretty bad. I honestly can't recall if I tried operating the case. Yeah, I figured I would have at some point. So the operate verb is when you use an item by itself, or, you know, activate, interact, whatever you might call it. Whereas use is if you want to use an item on another item. So I think the stamp, actually we can go check in the officer's office. I believe the other stamp says like a blank stamp or something in the inventory. Yeah, the stamp's missing here, which means we've already made the swap. We just haven't inked the stamp and stamped the mission yet. So you can do that to make it feel like we're making some kind of progress. You can use the stamp on the ink pad. Ink the stamp. We can now use the inked stamp. Whoops. On the mission instruction. Okay, you stamped the mission order. So now we have an authorized mission about which Bond has absolutely nothing at all to say. Now, oh yeah, there's we don't have the lifeboat, right? Yeah, so let's go grab that before we forget. So the other door in the previous room up there, that's the bathroom where we first got into this section. And just to show you real quick, in this section over here, there's a storage room here that has a few things that we can interact with. Or at least it's got a few hotspots on screen. I don't know that we can actually do anything with any of these, but the empty stamp was in one of these drawers, as were some shoelace that we need to tie our shoes. Otherwise we get killed for our uniform not being up to code. And yes, James Bond has not noticed anything special in his life. So yeah, the examine command very, very rarely does anything. And there's frankly very few objects that you can meaningfully interact with usually. Like here, you can actually open and, you know, I was gonna say and close. Can you even close the drawer? Oh, I guess so. Incredible. But for most rooms, like this has an unusually high amount of hotspots to even cursor over. But even then, trying to do anything with any of them will just, you know, no result. No result. This door leads to the Piranha trap room, which we discovered. When you're in the trap room, you can actually, even though the proper way of escaping is to use your watch wire to climb out through the grate near the ceiling, you can actually drop down to the floor and walk out the door. You'll come out here and be immediately captured. So that at least told us that that's how the geography is sort of connected, which means we can safely ignore this door. Timer. Yeah, that's a good point. We're kind of like just messing around, catching up, but we should enable the timer. That's true. So this is some kind of, I don't know what, computer command central. It's pretty fucked up because the ink pad is here on the desk, but it doesn't actually appear, like it's not visually, like you can't see it, but there's a hotspot here for the ink pad, and that hotspot only appears, oh yeah, actually that makes sense. Yeah, the hotspot only appears after you have swapped the stamps, I guess to prevent you from stamping the wrong stamp. So the fact that I had the ink pad in my inventory should have told me that I had the officer stamp. But whatever. There's a bed, there's a water fountain, water cooler thing, whatever. There's a control board, but also a garbage dump. Examining the garbage dump, there's nothing about it. But if we operate the garbage dump, okay, we get stuck. The pathfinding in this game, also not great. An inflatable life raft. Stamp affair, yeah, the elastic band affair. Why not, if you think you'll go to the beach this afternoon? I mean, that's not my thought, but I reckon I am underwater. I'm gonna need to get out of here somehow. Maybe I'll fly out with a stealth, but in case I don't, or in case I need to drop out of the plane while flying over the ocean or something, it seems like a good thing to have. So we are now officially at like the peak of, you know, as far as I've been able to get. So again, we know that there's a locked door, and the door has a fingerprint ID lock. We need to use a fingerprint cigarette gadget of some kind to prick the lock. And how we are meant to do that is something I have spent about 2 to 4 hours to try to figure out. On that token, let us take a look at the manual just to refresh our memory a little bit on how the game's manual chooses to describe this this gadget. Let's see. What is up, Tango Bunny? Yes, we have not, as far as like getting further into the game, we have not made any progress since Saturday. We achieved a few things during Monday's stream because we had to go back and get the elastic band, but we have yet to understand how that's going to help us. Here we go. The cigarette case. This cigarette case contains 2 types of cigarettes. Literally the first sentence is already incorrect. No, it doesn't. It contains 3 types of cigarettes. Now, it's entirely possible, that seems to be my interpretation at least, that, you know, the third kind is just not a gadget. It's just a regular cigarette. But there are undeniably cigarettes with 3 different color markings. it says here characteristics of the rocket. It goes through all these details. It shows us a cross section of everything. It does not bother explaining that the rocket launching cigarette can be identified by its token red ring around it or anything. Nope, not at all. Fingerprint revealing cigarettes. The cigarette contains an ultra-sensitive microfilm made of some chemical thing or other. With this microfilm, you can photograph any fingerprint. All you have to do is to place the microfilm on the spot where you have found the fingerprint. The computerized database research unit can then identify the owner of the fingerprint you have photographed. So, this doesn't at all say that you can generate a fake fingerprint that you can scan. It basically tells us that we can remotely access a database to tell us who a fingerprint belongs to, which either is basically giving us the hint that we're on a massive wild goose chase, and the trick to getting through the fingerprint scanner is in fact not related to scanning someone's fingerprint with a cigarette, or the information in the manual is just like fully wrong. And the thing is, like many of these other gadgets, the information hasn't been exactly wrong, but it has not been accurate for the most part. One consistent theme is that the manual goes into significant depth and detail. Well, it's not even the right way of putting it, because they're not really explaining details, but they give a very strong indication that the gadgets are very particular. You know, you see here the exact number of drops needed to melt various kinds of metals, and there's a warning that like if you use one too many drops, you'll suffocate because the acid is so deadly. And with this, you know, use the swivel ring, you turn it, you do this, you melt. And what this amounts to in the game is literally use pen, unlock. That's it. So there's like a lot of kind of, again, not detail necessarily, but like a lot of stuff, a lot of implied specificity to how these gadgets are used. And consistently in the game, like, it has just not mattered. It has never come up. I will say the code breaking box, which we used to break into the safe, was extremely confusing. And the, I mean, let me just read the sentence. The numbers in the code will be shown on the number display in the same order as they occur in the combination lock. That's already a little bit of a peculiar sentence, and trust me, it does not make any more sense in context. Recompose the code in the same order as that shown on the number display of the box and the safe will open. Is also a sentence that's like a little bit tough to parse out of context, made 10 times more confusing in context when the pieces in play just do not line up with what is described in the manual. I should be grateful that use pen unlock worked. I mean, yes and no, because I think I've been kind of looking forward to and anticipating. Like, I don't feel rewarded for having like studied the manual to figure out the specifics of how to do this thing. Like, it's just like it's I don't know, it's a pretty shitty payoff that it's so underwhelming and so like there's just nothing to it. But the fuck thing is, like, the game clearly intends the fact that these things are gadgets and how they're meant to be used to be a secret. There's no other explanation for the fact that the game absolutely at no point whatsoever acknowledges that any of these gadgets are in fact super secret badass spy agent gadgets until the moment you use them. And even then, they very barely acknowledge it by letting it work, but nothing beyond that. So every gadget you can look at in your inventory, getting a description for which cigarette has which color is like that's them going above and beyond, because you usually don't even get that much. You have an electric razor in your inventory. You look at it and it says, "Oh, I haven't found anything special. I don't know, nothing, no result." That's like all you get. Trying to use the pen on stuff doesn't result in you suffocating for using too much acid. It doesn't result in you writing your signature. It has no result. Nothing. Examining it, nothing. So like, you end up with this weird, like, I spent most of the game wondering if this was in fact the pen I had, because it doesn't even look anything like this. You see the pen in the suitcase when you first pick it up, and it doesn't appear to be a fountain pen. So like, everything about it makes it just feel, you feel uncertain whether you're even, I don't know, it's like the game's fucking gaslighting you into thinking these gadgets aren't gadgets. And then when you eventually get to use them, you're like, "Oh, is that it?" And it's like you feel hesitant to build up any amount of excitement to use these cool gadgets, which I think is pretty bad. But I can only, again, I can only interpret it as the game deliberately trying to keep it sort of secret, whether it's as a kind of copy protection thing or like an adventure game challenge thing. I don't know. But if we are to take the manual at face value, it does say the cigarette contains an ultra-sensitive microfilm. With this microfilm, you can photograph any fingerprint. All you have to do is to place the microfilm on the spot where you have found the fingerprint. Computerized database research unit, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that means that we should probably use the cigarette on a surface that has a fingerprint. We've already tried a lot of things. We've tried using both cigarettes. We've tried unraveling the cigarette and using the paper on a lot of different things. What's up, Broccoli Donut? Greetings. When I got the stamp, I was like, "Oh, okay," or the ink. Maybe I use the ink pad to like somehow have things like, getting a thumbprint. We got the guard that we knocked out. Like, can we use the ink pad to like, get his thumbprint on the cigarette paper or something like that? Can we take the cigarette and use it on ourselves to scan the fingerprint and convert it some magic science shit so we can use it in the lock? I don't know. Can we take the cigarette itself and rub it against the fingerprint scanner? And I don't know that any of these ideas are wrong. What I can say is my attempts to try these things and more have not been successful at all. So, as I was saying before, the game giving no feedback makes it all but impossible to determine whether I have the wrong idea or whether I'm just not executing it very specifically the way the game wants it. So that's kind of where we're at. We did find the elastic band. So for a moment I was like, well, do we want am I supposed to get the officer's fingerprints on the glass or like on the paper by taking the cigarette paper and sticking the rubber band around it on the glass, so he grabs it and puts his thumbprints on the paper or whatever? That didn't seem to work. I could not get it to work, I should say. So we're basically been kind of, walking around these hallways, rubbing this cigarette on anything and everything with no success. Trying to, use the rubber band, trying to use the ink pad, trying to use the cigarette paper. And the most annoying thing is, like, because we have multiple cigarettes, I don't know which one is the fingerprint cigarette. And when you have multiple ones in the inventory, it's like even harder to keep track of which you've used and which you haven't. So if the game had actually done what the manual says and given us two types of cigarettes, and I could quite easily, by process of elimination, determine the red one explodes us, so that's the rocket one. that means that the other one is the fingerprint. But now it could be one of two, or technically one of three, but there's 2 gold cigarettes and 1 blue. So my suspicion is that the blue one is the fingerprint. But because when I examine it, when I try to use it, when I operate it to dismantle it, the game gives me no feedback whatsoever on either cigarette being any different from the other. The only feedback you get is exploding and dying by trying to operate the red cigarette. That's literally it. Well, we can operate the cigarette case. And now we have... So, yeah, so the name of the object doesn't change. The first one is blue. Then it's gold. Gold. And red. Skill issue? Yeah, I guess so. This game does have 0 issues, as has been established. So maybe I can use the blue cigarette on the clothes? Nope. That's okay. I took it in stride. No worries. Whoops. So like the control pen, like you would think people have used their thumbs on all kinds of things here. Nope, not operate. Use cigarette on control board. It's like you did nothing. Use it on the stamp. Use it on the glass. Nope. And of course, I don't know, I could have already soft locked myself by not having done something crucial before swapping the stamp with the officer. Not really something I can comfortably rule out. It's clicked. Oh, okay. Nope. The interface is so bad too. Use this cigarette. Nope. I mean, I guess we can try using the red cigarette. We use the ink pad on here. No. Can we use the stamp? We do have the elastic band, which I have no idea. What it's supposed to be for. Just know that we need it. I'm pretty sure I spent some time at the end of the last stream basically trying to do this. Elastic band on James? Nope. Try to use all the different cigarettes on James. Nothing's happening. I think... Yeah, I think at least if you try to operate Lifeboat, yeah, you get a response. That's more than you get for most of the things you can do in this game. So just about the only thing I haven't done now here is trying to dismantle a cigarette and use the cigarette paper on this, but I am pretty positive that is something I tried like 5 times last stream. So like, again, we know that we need a fingerprint. We know that we have a gadget that is somehow related to fingerprints. But the game is so stingy with information and detail that we don't have a clear idea of what we can do and how we should achieve it. And with the information in the manual being so not vague, but just seemingly unrelated to the issue at hand, in that, like, yeah, there's a fingerprint gadget, but it's like a fingerprint revealing gadget. It's for like scanning fingerprints and finding fucking who did it. It doesn't seem like, nothing in the manual implies that this can allow you to kind of recreate a fingerprint, to like fake a fingerprint, or to bypass fingerprint scanner ID checks or anything like that. Basically, it just tells you, yeah, you can look up, you can find a fingerprint and you can find out who it belongs to. which is like not how you, that's not how you get through a fingerprint lock. So, but it's like, it's close enough that it feels like it would be preposterous for the solution to this conundrum be anything else. So I'm certainly at the point where I'm like, all right, let's just basically try everything on everything. And I find that that is not really working. Conceptually, I feel like I don't know what I may have missed. You know, but I did miss the rubber band. I did miss the lifeboat for a while. I sort of missed the ink pad. I'd used it previously, but I'd failed to realize that you can actually pick it up and bring it with you. There's the fact that you can open and close this trash can, which appears to serve no purpose. Because whether it's open or closed, there's nothing to say about it. Well, I guess you can't operate because it does that. Oh yeah, the magic mirror. That's a little funky. Examine soldier gives us nothing, but that's probably because, again, before we assaulted him and kidnapped him, same with operate, I think probably. Yeah, basically, it seems to be the case that like the engine sort of doesn't support multiple descriptions for the same object. So now that the object has kind of changed, that he's locked up here, it won't give me the description of like, oh, I need to sneak up on him or whatever it said before. I guess we'll try to use. I just realized, what if I'm supposed to use the elastic band so I can keep the towel, and the towel is used for something? Because I'm using it, like, I've gagged his mouth with a towel. Or a napkin, as the game calls it. There could be something like that, you know? I don't know how a towel would help us. And, you know... But at this point, like, I'm willing to entertain ideas like that just to see if... if I'm completely insane. But I try to use cigarette paper on the glass to lift the print. I most definitely had the idea. I just saved, so we can... That's the thing too, of course, like dismantling the cigarette is like irreversible. But we do this, empty the tobacco from the cigarette, only a cigarette paper remains. Which, by the way, doesn't this picture appear to imply that the microfilm is not part of the paper? Talking about the photography, like, it's... I don't know. Did I already... Is it the paper that it can absorb the print? Or how does this work? Or did I like already fuck it up by doing this? But even then, like, maybe you're supposed to use the cigarette paper to transfer a print onto it, and then you use the other cigarette to scan the paper. Like, I don't know. But we can use the cigarette paper, whoops, on the glass. Dude, okay. I see that... I'm sure I have tried this. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, you could never feel like... You guys know, I've been talking for like a week about how I'm trying to use these fucking cigarette papers to lift prints. I guess this exact combination of objects and verbs had not been attempted with this particular cigarette paper, at least. So like, thanks for prompting me to try to do this to prove a point, because I was convinced that I had done it. So I don't really consider this like a hint to try something I would not have thought of. Yeah, Broccoli, I tried using a cigarette paper on the glass for what I would have thought was the third or fourth time. But I guess maybe I must have not done exactly that with the exact right cigarette paper. Because I think this was the blue cigarette. We take those. It's fine. But let's not celebrate just yet. You place the leaf on the glass. After several seconds, a thumbprint becomes quite visible. You delicately take the leaf off the glass and discover a plastic film, an exact replica of the thumbprint that the officer left on the glass. You take the print. So yeah, even Bond is like, oh, I guess this is a gadget. He was just fucking around putting cigarette papers on glasses, and it's like, oh shit, something happened. Which is... fingerprint. All right, we got it. Unbelievable. Well, this is exciting. We're about to see a new screen for the first time in like 2 streams. So use fingerprint. Maybe I had to do it another route. I mean, I anything is possible. But honestly, I don't even want to dwell on it. I just want to push forward. Oh, I guess okay. Did I put the fingerprint on my finger? The door opened. I'm not going to complain. Maybe we need the elastic band to tie it there. I don't know. All right. How is this room going to kill us? With a skull and a lightning bolt, maybe? Card reader? You find nothing. Oh, do I insert my authorized mission card? This is interesting. It's weird. It's so like hidden. I was like, oh, this is like a window. I thought it was just a screen. Door. It's like the actual hotspot moves with the pixels. So because the lightning bolt laser barrier thing is like shifting, you can see the highlight, like cursor highlight is shifting as well. Guards protected by a bulletproof window. So there's probably something to do with the card read, but like I'm more than happy to like walk into a trap just to see how things play out. Nope. Speak to guard. You speak with him, no answer. This, by the way, is a very generic. This isn't even him like not answering. This is just like when the game doesn't feel like having a response. That's like the third fuse box, by the way, which appears to be nothing, but who knows. I could probably show him the... Oh, can we die by walking in here? Alright, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. There you are, transformed into a vulgar heap of cinders. Ah, delicious non-native English writing. Your adventure is over. Too bad for you. You know, new death scenes. I will happily take that over being stuck in a hallway for a week. So I guess we can just try giving the authorized mission to this guy. It's like you did nothing. All right. It did look like a little card of some kind. It didn't look like a, you know, like a manila envelope or like files or a contract or something. It looked like suspiciously like a little card with the mission. So maybe we insert a mission card here. That won't do anything. All right. Do we have any other... What else do we have here? Elastic band. Use that on the fingerprint? No. Can we operate the card reader? Of course I cannot. Can I operate the fuse box? Absolutely not! It would be a waste of my valuable time. Alright, okay. Exiting screens. Weirdly difficult. Is the thing? No. Can we examine the door? The rays are gleaming and look very deadly. Wait, is this a thing on the wall? Oh. Pixel hunting hasn't been too bad in this game, to be honest, but again, it's so stupid. Like, you're standing there, you try to talk to someone, you try to show them a paper, and the game, like, basically tells you that you're an idiot for thinking that's relevant. But if you click 3 pixels to the left, you get the solution. You slide the mission order into the opening, next to the bulletproof window. The guard makes a sign for you to pass. Oh, there's an actual door behind, I see. Maybe we need to put the mission on a rubber band around our wrist so we can, like, zip, pull it back out. Because I'm assuming we lost it now. Yeah, we don't have it. We do have an elastic band, though. There's another card reader. This, a trash can. Oop. He's walking. We're going to get a result. Garbage is completely empty. Okay, well, it's a result. Him saying a custom authored message of nothing is more than what this game usually offers. So, you know. Pause for celebration, I suppose. Oh, okay. I clicked like here and it moved me off screen. Oh, dude. These more elaborate screens are so sick. And I love the way the characters look. Come in, Mr. Bond. We've been waiting for your arrival. Oh, yeah. There's that evil Dr. Y. Is that what it was called? Come on, Mr. Bond. Take off the uniform. It doesn't flatter you. Oh, little animation too. The day has dawned, Mr. Bond. The world will finally know its master. Oh, look at these guys' little Earth map here. Oh, yeah, the spider logo underneath the chair. So this is Otto, by the way. And this is, what's her name? Julia? Her, like, oh, she looks so cool. Like, the characters look fucking amazing in this game. For how, like, tiny they are on screen, they're so expressive. Nothing can stop us now. Here we are at the dawn of the new world. Isn't it exciting, Mr. Bond? Surface! Yeah, this logo itself looks a bit questionable, but it's cool that he's got his evil crime syndicate logo on the floor. The world will soon see the light, Mr. Bond, and there's nothing they can do to stop me now. They'll soon discover that one doesn't play around with Dr. Y without dire consequences. This is pretty cool. Oh, dude. Like the lighting effects and everything. Take off! Oh, there's a fucking timer. You see, Mr. Bond, when the electronic counter up on the right reaches 346, Washington will be no more. Ha ha ha! Like this non-diegetic timer. I mean, maybe it's in the top right of the room. Whoa, okay, I try to save. Visualization, something or other. I guess it's a map. I guess this is the East Coast of the United States, and that's Washington, D.C. Why the number 346, Dr. Y? When I was a young child, my parents... Oh, do be quiet, Mr. Bond. Okay, now we can save. Timer. Okay. We have a rocket launcher cigarette. So we have the compact disc, which maybe I needed to have done something with before I got here. I don't know. But this seems to be the room where we need to use it. We have the elastic band, which is gonna be needed for something. Well, guess we're still in a cutscene. I don't know. Target approaching, firing corridor clear. Radar program operating at 100%. All systems green. Over. Don't move, Mr. Bond, or I'll shoot. All right, just wanted to check. You tell yourself, I must have forgotten something. I'm assuming this is another one of those begrudgingly inserted hints that I know better than to question at this point, I guess. But I'm happy just to see how this plays out. There you are, Mr. Bond. You are going to witness the birth of a new world. I mean, it looks like we're going to want to see how this plays out anyway, right? Pictures, unless he's going to come to the realization of going like, but I have an elastic band. So everyone is looking at the monitor. That's helpful. You think to yourself, I'm helpless, unable to do anything. There you are, Mr. Okay, whatever. Washington, it'll be Chicago's turn. And New York. Nothing interesting. Then Paris, London, Berlin. Girl, didn't you have a name before? You find nothing. Like, operate auto. Alas, your lack of courage has doomed you. Even before you have time to react, Otto calmly puts a bullet between your two eyes. Oh, I was just about to say. No little animation, but we actually saw him fall over. Since your failure, Dr. Y reigns over the entire world with diabolical terror. Your adventure is over. It is also now occurring to me that this gigantic space alien is in fact representing the symbol of Spider, the organization, which makes some amount of sense. It makes less sense for why this graphic was also being shown when we game over by stumbling upon giant rats in the sewer maze, but that's fine. I'm gonna actually do this because I did like click through a message at the beginning of that scene, so we'll just let this play out. Like, the game is a little bit you know, you click buttons much the same as skipping stuff for when you need to bring up the inventory or whatever, or even just like use a verb. So it's very easy when the game is a little bit ambiguous as to whether you're in a cinematic or not to skip things when you don't need to. Or when you don't mean to, rather. Alright, take off the uniform. We'll always know it's master. Nothing can stop us now, isn't it exciting? Surface! Can't play around with Dr. Y. You see this again, this is pretty cool. I mean, Otto is the guy who's got the most immediate threat, right? He's got the gun pointed at us. So if we need to, like, intervene, I reckon we need to take care of him first. But I definitely have the impression at this point that, like, this is basically the final showdown. We're at the end of the game. We are presumably, like, half a dozen or less correct interactions away from beating the game. I mean, I could be wrong. But it doesn't seem as if we're going to be flying the plane. Because that was my assumption from reading the manual, because it kind of goes over, again, talking about the gadgets. It has a section on the plane, and like, so I was like, well, okay, if the game, you know, Chekhov's stealth plane, right? If it sort of sets the stage for us to pilot the plane. And you know, if this was a Bond movie about a stolen stealth plane, surely at the climax of the film, Bond would pilot the plane, right? You know, however briefly. But the plane's already left, so unless we're already screwed, then I don't know about that. But so, you know, we there were the card readers that we passed by. There was that little mail slot. Maybe I was supposed to give the compact disc to the guy and like, hey, can you just you know, play this you know, put this on and play track 3 for us? You know, something like that. That could be it. Or we're supposed to do something in here. Maybe you should try examine, like, just hovering the cursor over the screen and see if we can find some hotspots just to have a sense of what we might want to try interacting with. When the electronic counter reaches 346, Washington will be no more. So the next message is what we missed here. Visualization of the trajectory on the main board. Why the number 346? To be quiet. Oh, there's the CD player. Am I gonna fucking fling the disc into the player with a rubber band? That'd be pretty sick. Oh yeah, I missed this too. Dr. Y, transmission from the stealth. Target approaching, firing corridor clear, radar program operating at 100%, all systems green, over. Must have forgotten something, but we're gonna let the timer run out. Computer, nothing interesting. It's kind of weird, the messages popped up at the same time. Agent Spider. I'm a little careful to actually click anything because examine typically has him just utter the comment from where he's standing, but that's also actually because usually you get one of those no results messages. If you actually can interact, or you know, you saw that with the trash can, he actually walked over to it to say, oh, there's nothing in there. So if I inspect something, it could trigger him trying to walk, which maybe could have him shoot us. You can't help to watch the madman's plan succeed right in front of you. Camera. And then Moscow, Budapest, Hong Kong, Peking, Tokyo. Like very excitedly stood up in his chair. Yeah, it took 50,000 tries, but eventually using a cigarette paper on the glass worked to get ourselves a fingerprint. So we're probably good now. Then Rome, Warsaw, Madrid. He's got a whole plan laid out. The whole world will be mine! Ha ha ha! Alright, alright. You are watching my triumph, Mr. Bond. Yes, the whole Earth will be under the Spider's domination. Oh, come on, man. Is this all we get? That wasn't very cool. Alright. I was... We don't even get to see the plane blow up Washington? Come on. That's weak. Alright, so can we use the elastic band on the compact disc? Nope. Can I use the elastic band on auto? I cannot. Can do that. I mean, let's try. So we're going to use the compact disc on CD player. Okay, that's interesting. There was nothing. So that means that this command will trigger something. But for, you know, external reasons, the game will not allow us to perform this command right now. So operate compact disc, use compact disc rather, on CD player is a thing. So Otto's like gun or whatever is not its own hotspot, but it's also literally behind Bond's head on screen here. So let's try using the elastic band on things. Maybe I should throw it at him. Nope. But also, yeah, the game kind of does say like, oh, you missed something. Oh, I think I forgot something. I'm helpless. But now I'm like immediately second guessing my my choice to take it at face value. It's like, oh, maybe. All right, so we can yeah, I mean, we got a rocket cigarette, which I can't. I mean, I can operate it to explode the room, I suppose. What about the yellow cigarette? Operating auto, I think, will kill us. Oops. You do it, nothing happens. I don't think that's true. A result. Oh, time ran out. Let's try. So, you know, there could be something else. The elastic band could still play a role later. My instinct as to needing the authorized mission to get through a later checkpoint turned out to be completely accurate. Try to see if we can use the compact disc on mailbox. No. So we know, actually, I mean, we already know that we need to insert the disc into the CD player in that room. Aside from the fact that it seems logically obvious, the bigger giveaway is, again, the fact that when I perform that command, instead of the game saying that it doesn't work, it literally does nothing. And that's almost always, I mean, consistently, it has been representative of the game, like, the game failing to acknowledge something like that means that it will be correct, something will be done that way. You just cannot do it right now, either because you've already done it, or because, in this case, I'm not allowed to walk. Use the... Nope. So... we're probably going to need the lifeboat to get out somehow. Maybe I can use the pen or the watch or something. I should just load the save, I guess. Use the watch. I might have forgotten. Oh, that eats at me. Because what could I have forgotten? I mean, I feel like I was pretty fucking thorough in exploring the lair and doing anything I could. You know, we got the whole mission. Because, you know, if you somehow get the... if you, like, get the... No, I feel like there are certain things you can miss. You can certainly miss the whole stamp thing. You can exchange the glass. I mean, yeah, you can give him a glass of water without swapping stamps. You can get the glass of water, use the cigarette thing, get the fingerprint, and get through here without having done the, you know, and get to the guard, the locked door. And if you get that far and you've already swapped, you're already given him the glass, it's too late to get the stamp. So, like, we got that right. But it doesn't, I don't know. It's such an easy thing to say, right? Like, it doesn't seem like I missed anything else, but, like, that's in the nature of missing things, right? It never does seem like you missed something. If it seems like you've missed something, you probably wouldn't miss it. Or, I mean, you could argue that it does seem like we missed something because the game tells us that we have forgotten something or that we have missed something. But looking at our inventory again, like, you know, the lifeboat seems like it's going to come in handy. The elastic band is important for something. The game makes, you know, a point out of letting us know that. We've used the stamp and the ink pad. The rocket cigarette seems like if it's going to be teased in the manual, we're going to get it. Surely we're going to need to use it. But the way it works, according to the manual anyway, which the fingerprint thing doesn't seem to be very accurate, but according to the manual, you light the cigarette, and as it burns down, it reaches like an igniter, fuse, whatever, and it just like fires away the rocket. Maybe in this screen, if I try to operate the cigarette, he doesn't blow himself up. You never know. It's worth a shot. But yeah, the case, again, I think there's no explanation for it, but you get the case and the compact disc at the same time. So I'm assuming that the disc is in this case. And there's a few things like that sometimes too, where you have like multiple items. Like, yeah, we have the cigarette case, but the game seems to treat it as if these items are inside the case, even though they're like separate items. You know, the electric cable is not a, you know, it's part of the razor. So the game gets a little bit weird of how it's handling sort of separate inventory items, but because I can't like take things like take the case, the disc out of the case or anything like that. We can try operating the red cigarette. It's probably going to kill us. You squeeze the cigarette and it explodes. Yeah. Next time, read the instructions. That's just like such an insult, implying that the instructions actually help us. I've forgotten something. If we stop to think about that for a second, then there were these mysterious card readers. The mission is, you know, authorized mission thing was not usable in it. The CD was not usable in it, which makes sense. We know we need to use the CD in the CD player. Could there have been other items that I could have tried using with the card readers? Could I possibly have missed items? There's 2 empty trash cans. Did we not search them thoroughly enough? Double check. Gold ring. Gold, yeah, okay. I wanted to just confirm that the blue cigarette was the one I used for the fingerprints, and that appears to be the case. I used the elastic band on something else. I tried using it on the disc. You made it use it on the case? No. Because I definitely tried using it on most items previously. And it didn't work. Let's actually try clicking some examine things and see if it helps us in any way. This player contains all the information necessary for the radar program, which renders the stealth invisible. Oh, okay. That's... Oh, okay. Trying to examine Agent Spider over here. I haven't noticed anything special. All right, all right. Your government is quite naive to believe that they or you will stop me, Mr. Bond. I control a weapon that will totally dominate any force. The ultimate instrument of destiny is in my power, and thanks to it, all the rampant and stupid vermin that infest this earth will be exterminated. So this is a line that plays when you're in the trap room. That seems like a bug. That this message shows up when I examine the door, it definitely seems like a bug. But that's fine. I wonder if you're supposed to do something when he's like face. But again, like if I had to time something or do something with Dr. Y, I don't think it's gonna prevent Maybe we can try talking our way out of it. It wouldn't prevent Otto from shooting us. It is conspicuous to me that they got like their heads turned. Speak to girl. You speak with him. No answer. Speak to James. My name's Bond. James Bond. Doesn't really help. Don't move, Mr. Bond, or I'll shoot. Empty threats, huh? Lack of courage has doomed you. All right. Operating auto, not gonna work. And again, like, it doesn't seem like we would have missed something with regards to our inventory items or whatever, because we would have spent so much time messing around with them before this point. So this guy won't respond to us. Like, again, there's just not that much. Was there a room in between here? Were the two hall... Wait, was this the first hallway? Oh, no, right. This is here. It's locked again. I mean, I guess it should be. That's good security. I mean, there's the... I was so, like, taken aback when he started walking over. I was like, holy shit, did I miss something? No. There's a piece of clothing on the bed, which, like, yeah, I can tell. I mean, there's the, get to operate the control board. Well, I can, but nothing happens, I guess. In the storage room, there's like a gun case or something, isn't there? Did I bring up... I'm not allowed in here. Are you serious, game? What? Okay, that's interesting. I'm just locked out now. That's a weird thing. I'm going to restore an earlier game. And just see if... maybe I can use my, like, as a gun case. Nope. Freezer, like, could there have been something here that I missed? I mean, it's not that I feel like I fully explored everything I could have done in that last room. I just feel like the game saying that I, like, basically implying that I missed something is not something that I feel like I can take too lightly after the whole elastic band situation. But I can understand how I missed the elastic band. And I was told that I have not soft locked, that, like, at this point I didn't, you know, miss out on anything crucial. So that would imply to me, perhaps incorrectly, but my take on it would be that whatever I need to do, given that I've been relatively thorough here, you know what, maybe we can try to use a fingerprint on other things. I don't know. That whatever I may need to do in that final room is past this door. In those hallways with the guard window or something like that. Well, let's try operating the blue cigarette. Use the cigarette paper on the glass. Get the fingerprint. What if we can use the fingerprint to do something different? Because that's obviously not something we tried, right? Maybe the fingerprint can be used to control something here. Nothing to say about it. Maybe I can use the fingerprint to open up a box. Get a gun? There's like no lock or something to this door. As soon as I get the fingerprint, I'm no longer allowed in here. But okay. Either that means the game expects us to be extremely specific about going into this room before we do it so that we can do something special, or more likely, for whatever reason, the game says to us, you know what, don't worry about that room, it's not going to be relevant. But in the off chance that it is important, let's attempt to go into that room and get the fingerprint. See if we can use it for something in there. We should be able to go in here now. Yeah. So let's operate the blue cigarette. Use the cigarette paper, whoops, on the glass. Now we have a fingerprint and we're inside here. So let's try to use the fingerprint on everything. Well, maybe not every single drawer, but... Do we use the fingerprint? The elastic band? I didn't use the lamps. I probably can't get out. I mean, maybe. I mean, there's no door. Yeah, it just closes behind us. Plastic band. Fingerprint. Lifeboat. Maybe I can operate the lifeboat. Maybe he will decide it is a time for a swim, in fact. Once we're in the hallway. Kind of funny looking. But like, there's a card reader. In the fuse box. Like, the game does have, you know, quite a few of these objects that are there to be... Is this a thing? No. Yeah, let's do a little more carefully considered pixel hunt here, just in case. Electric plug. Oh, okay. You can plug our top secret recording. Okay. Electric cable. You plug in the razor. So do we hide it in the fuse box? We just drop it? What happens if it... Watch out, you just unplugged the razor. Okay. The fact that we can do this would imply to me that it's a thing. So what if we operate the razor? You play with the on-off switch on the razor, it turns on. So is it recording now? I'm guessing so. But how is this going to help us? Pixel hunt was a thing. Right, to speak with him, no answer. Can't speak to the razor. So the electric razor is a recording device. And as long as we're standing here, it's plugged in. What if we operate it again? I'm guessing we're turning it off. The razor shuts off. And it's not playing back anything. So does that mean that it's recording? The razor is attached to an electric cord, right? I don't think I missed any electrical outlets in any other rooms. So again, the manual explains kind of in detail that it's a recording device. And it gives no instructions as to how to play anything back, only how to record stuff, which of course creates the assumption that you're going to use it to record something. But the first thing you do in the game basically is you get it and you listen to a tape. And I'd assume that, all right, I guess that's it. But now that we can plug it in again, surely we're not going to plug it in to listen to our mission briefing. And it seems doubtful that the game would allow us, like, would put a plug there to let us connect this for absolutely no reason. But what could it be that we might want to record? I can't really use this on many things without, you know, walking around. And maybe if I go through the door. Okay, unplugs the razor. But I guess there might be, because there's another hallway after this door. I thought there were, yeah, because there's the hallway with, I can plug in the razor and put it in the trash can. I don't know how that's going to help us, but if there's an electrical outlet in the next hallway, then I should be able to do that. Ventilation hole. Missed that. At this point, I definitely just want to see what that hallway looks like. Can I use the elastic band on the razor? Nope. Like, having him talk about his plan and it recording it, like, to collect evidence or something. I mean, that could be a thing. But it's not gonna, like, really help. But maybe if it plays back audio or something and I can do some kind of, you know, I can trick them into thinking I'm someplace else or something because they hear audio from some, you know, maybe there's something like that. But it doesn't appear like I can plug it in and, like, record something. I try to speak into it. I try to talk and see if I can record something, but that didn't work. But let's just, at the very least, see what's in this screen. There is an outlet here. Yes, okay, electric plug. I guess it's not a plug, is it? The plug is what you stick into the socket, right? So that explains why there's a trash can there, I guess. It's an ordinary plug in the wall. Let's just see, you know, we can try doing this and see if Bond comments on having forgotten something or not. Maybe if we plug it in here, he can start. Let's just, okay. Use electric cable on electric plug. Use electric razor on trash can. You put the razor in the garbage. All right. Garbage razor. Examine trash can. Well, an electric razor. You take. Oh, okay. That's weird. I didn't mean to do that, but disconnected. All right. Try that again. We're gonna see if this makes any difference. But I'm going to leave you guys on a little bit of a cliffhanger while I go take a brief break. We can go for a while. I need to stretch a little bit, make a quick bathroom visit, and let's see if we can wrap this baby up. I'll be right back. Ah, okay. I'm refreshed. Hydrated, stretched. Good to go. Let's unpause the game. Unpause the timer. Okay, I didn't mean to start walking. Oh, yeah, that's fine. I just remember I already put the thing in here, so we're fine. A thought occurred to me, which is that on the previous screen, we had these ventilation grills or whatever that we could interact with. And I was trying to think if that was a thing that we should do something with. And it's like, maybe we can use the pen. Maybe we can use the pen to melt something. But I was gonna say the ventilation thing reminded me of the fumes, the toxic fumes of the acid. But like, is that a thing? I don't know. But now that we've at least turned. Yeah. I didn't turn the thing on, did I? Let's try this again. I don't think I turned the razor on. What's up, Lieutenant Havoc? It is indeed. So let's once again plug the cable into the wall. Now let's operate. Whoops. Wrong mouse button. Operate the razor. The razor shuts off, okay? I guess it was already on from the previous. Well, whatever. Let's make sure it's turned on. Turns on. Let's use the razor on trash can. It's on. It's in the trash. Let's see if this makes a difference somehow. Waiting. Uniform. Surface. Don't mess around with Dr. Y. Oh, we get to see this again. This might be skippable, I guess, but it's pretty cool. I don't mind watching it again. Like, especially when you're spent so much time in these cramped hallways, when you see this, like, expansive full-screen artwork all of a sudden, it's like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. Like, full-screen animated cutscenes like this in 1990, like, it's not exactly a super common thing. Take off, take off, take off. See, Mr. Bond, the counter, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna save here. Timer featuring Razor. In case we want to try to do stuff from here, I want to not have to sit through that again. Why the number 346? Oh, be quiet. Transmission from the stealth, 100%, all clear. And now, I guess, yeah, I must have forgotten something. Okay, so this does not change. I don't know if the Razor... The way the whole Razor thing is set up does not immediately appear as if it would in any way help us, right? So it stands to reason that we did forget something else. That's not crazy. Oh. I guess we made accidental progress. I'm gonna restore... Oh, shit. I'm ruining everything. I just want to fucking... There we go. Let's try this again. Yeah, the fictional speculative technology, I guess you might call it. Anyway. I like that the game tells us that we were clever when we were like spending every moment questioning what the hell this was, and in fact, immediately prior talked about how clearly we must have missed something. But let's just wait and see how this actually plays out. I must have forgotten something. The birth of a new world. You think to yourself, I am helpless, unable to do anything. A voice out of the trash can where you wisely put the razor starts talking, thus creating a diversion. Destroy in 5 seconds. Oh yeah, that's right, because the end of the recording has the person say, like, this will self-destruct in 5 seconds, and then the countdown, and then it goes, just kidding. What's happening? 5. What destruction? Oh, don't do something. 4. And how long? I can't locate the location of that noise. 3. That's crazy. 2. 1. Everyone's just like spinning around like crazy. 0. Haha, it was a joke. It's you, Mr. Bond. You were wrong to show up. Alas, your lack of courage has doomed you. Okay, so this message makes a little more sense now. So I wanted to see... Oh, is that like an actual muzzle flash? It goes by so quickly otherwise that you don't actually see it. Didn't look like a flash exactly, more like a muzzle cloud. But okay, so the thing that makes it a little confusing is that, like, during this whole, like, hullabaloo of everything spinning around, there didn't really seem to be any downtime where you got to actually interact with something. But I guess we got to just preload the operate command so we can operate on auto the moment we have a, you know, an opening. So, you know, it's pretty cool, but it's weird how, like, you can mess around with you can plug it in, turn it on, like, there's no, like, you can't press play and rewind, like, the message doesn't actually play. Like, you stand in the hallway and stand there probably all day and nothing happens. But, like, once you go in here and you progress far enough into this cutscene, then the recorder starts playing back, and somehow it echoes into this room or whatever. It's a little, like, I like the idea of it, but the execution is so clunky that it's, like, a little confusing. I even explained, right? Like, something about, like, recording something and playing it back to create a distraction, or, like, confusing them about where I'm at. And that's basically what we're doing. But it's everything is communicated so oddly that it's like, I'm surprised and sort of caught off guard by my own plan, because it works out in somewhat different detail than I was expecting. That's very much in line with how this game operates. Thus creating a diversion. Okay. I was a little too fast there. Try to operate on him. I'm assuming that's what I have to do. But maybe not. Maybe during the commotion... It's a little trial and error-y, but at least we don't have to, like, sit through this long thing. We have to sit through a slightly short thing, but maybe we can save here so I don't have to wait too long. So I wonder if I can, you know, maybe now, what if I can try doing this? During the... Okay, the interface disappeared, so I think I managed to click the use CD on CD player and it didn't work. I tried to operate auto and that didn't work. Okay, so I don't think that's what I'm supposed to do. Oh, the thing didn't start yet. Okay. But the fact that I can use the elastic band on auto and it just, like, does nothing. I don't know. the game has basically told us that it's creating a diversion. So whatever I'm assuming we are currently in the state in which we can make something happen that it could not done before. All right. So using the rubber band didn't work. Yeah. I was wondering, like, do I have to operate auto when his face is turned the other way or something? Maybe I do something with the... Like, maybe there's another step to this diversion. Maybe I have to, like, put the rocket cigarette in there and it's gonna somehow explode. Oh, maybe I can walk. No? Okay. After 0, I can't do it either. Okay. Let's quickly restore our garbage razor save file and see if we can use the elastic band. Nope. We take the trash can. The red cigarette. No. Probably don't want to dump the CD. Okay. Oh, man, I'm just like, I bet it's so stupidly specific. Maybe I can fling my elastic band at this panel. That's the thing, like, I might as well try stuff now, because if it just says... If it just gives me that, you know, short type of command, or type of response... Okay, that's interesting. That he's threatening to shoot me when I try to use the elastic band on Dr. Y. Dude, it's so hard to click him. Okay. Ugh. I wasn't fast enough to use the elastic band on auto. Pretty sure I tried this before, but... You know, myself doesn't seem to work. Dude, it's so... it's so hard to, like, open up the inventory because it's the same button to skip stuff. Do I want a tip? Not just yet. Not just yet. Go up. I suppose... Oops. We could have prepared this. Maybe we can... You know, maybe if we go to another screen... okay. We're not going to go to another screen. Game's not going to let us. What I was going to say is, you know, maybe... maybe we can somehow get this message to play and spook them. While we are not in the room. Let me just see if we can walk back now. No, we're kind of stuck in here. Okay. Am I supposed to use this on anything here? Like you did nothing. did I try to use this on the Razor? It's happening on the cable? Nope. Okay. Well, saying I'm close is basically a hint. That implies to me that there's nothing... I mean, not for sure that I didn't miss anything, but probably means I don't need anything else. It's just a matter of what I'm clicking, where I'm clicking, like what verb to use. Like, as usual with the game, you have an idea and you're like, you know, my literal first idea was like, oh, okay, so then I can punch him out and take his gun while he's distracted. But that didn't seem to work. But then maybe that is what I'm doing. I just don't like, or, you know, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do, but I just can't get it right. Because again, it seems unreasonable to me that there would have been something in the previous screens that I missed that's going to be important now. Like, there's so many things that I could have missed that I now, like, I got the lifeboat, we got the authorization for the mission with the stamp and everything. The elastic band has to play a role, right? And this would be the perfect thing. Like, you're in this room and you have to use the elastic band, and it's like, you would be stuck on this scene. Nothing about the scene would make you think, shit, I need something like an elastic band. You know what? Let me load a previous save to just like scour the ocean floor in case I find an elastic band, because that's gonna help. Like, so that's just stupid enough for it to be what I'm supposed to do. Especially given that, like, I don't know how many screens are left after this. I tried before we figured out the Razor thing to like use the rubber band on the CD to like fling it or something, and that didn't work. I know I have to use the disc on the CD player. Again, aside from the obvious fact that that's how you use CDs, the fact that I can, if I use the command use CD on CD player, I get no response, and that typically means that it's the correct thing to do. You just cannot do it exactly at that moment in time. You have to do something else first or whatever. Did I try use the elastic band on the CD player? I don't know. I guess it's so annoying because I feel like I can try using the elastic band on everything, but if and when it doesn't work, I don't know if it's because I fucked up the diversion thing. Havoc, if I tell you not to give me hints, please don't give me hints. I mean, I tried using the rocket cigarette just to see if it would... Actually, did I try? I remember talking... Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did. I guess I'm supposed to use a cigarette. I don't know that it's... Like, I can't logically figure out what that would do or how that would work. Because I'm not sure what that would even be or do. But I don't know. I guess that's what I have to do. So I don't know. I can't, like... Not worth trying to think of anything else, I guess. So I tried to, like, use... I mean, I still don't know what the gold cigarettes even are. Because as far as the manual is concerned, like telling us how the gadgets work, I need to light the red cigarette for it to fire a rocket. The only thing I can do with it is squeeze it so I blow myself up. And that's not the solution, I would think, unless if I do it when everyone's confused, somehow that works. Because I think I tried using it on auto. Wait, let me go to this scene. Yeah, so like this doesn't do anything. Oh, maybe I can no, I was gonna say maybe I can convince them to let me have a smoke. I deliberately loaded the wrong save file just to see if I remembered correctly that I had tried something like that. But it's true, I didn't use this gadget, so it makes sense that I would use it for something. Alright, so that doesn't work. Like I did nothing. What if I operate the cigarette? Oh, there's probably text boxes. Yeah. That doesn't work. I mean, this is just the worst red herring of all time. I don't know. Offer it to someone else. Whoops. So, like, once this happens, it's so hard to, like, actually do any commands because you need to be like, you need to click super fast to bring up the menu in between the messages. I mean, I could. It's super possible that I missed, like, there's one more preparatory step. This, you know, the ventilation hole could be a thing. Hard, the fuse box, I don't know. The only thing that I can think of that, like, would make some amount of sense. Do I even have the fingerprint? Oh yeah, I still have that. Is that somehow the countdown to the destruction somehow connects with the rocket to cause some kind of explosion. Like, do I... Yeah, I can't use it with the razor. Dismantling the other cigarettes. Cigarette paper help in any way? It's just so confusing because clearly we're creating some kind of a diversion. There's some kind of distraction happening. But during this time, you still can't move. You still, like, nothing, you barely get any margins whatsoever for inputting any commands. And if you manage to input a command, I've yet to find one that gives any kind of different result from when that wasn't happening. Does that mean that there is something else to the diversion that I have not set up correctly? That's a rhetorical question. I can't rule it out. That seems... I mean, the diversion as it's set up currently seems a little bit half-baked, you know? it's enough to cause some confusion that lasts for a few seconds, which could be enough of a window to do something. But given that Otto is pointing a gun at us, it's, you know, my immediate concern is getting that gun out of his hands, and we can kind of figure out everything else from there. But I can't operate him to, like, attack him. I can't walk. I've tried using cigarettes. I've tried using elastic bands. I've tried using, I think, a few things on Otto. The only thing that has any effect is trying to operate him, which results in me getting shot and killed. So hint or not, I'm still basically at a loss. That's not me asking for hint. That's me thinking out loud. Oh, I wonder, by the way, I thought it's because they're... Oh, yeah, right. I forgot that was a thing. I guess I actually, once you go inside here, this door might never... Like, you might just be... Yeah, this doesn't open up, period. Okay, cool. That's got nothing to do with the razor. I know it's not easy to figure out. If it was, I would have figured it out. But no, I don't want you to tell me what I'm supposed to do. I will ask when I want a hint. And I will ask a very specific question. So again, the elastic band has to be part of... Well, it has to play a purpose sooner or later. But it could be that we create a commotion, we punch out Otto, we take his gun, we shoot him, we insert the disc, we save the day, and then we just need the lifeboat and we need a rubber band. Like, it could be completely unrelated to this scene. It would not surprise me if it's literally the last thing you need to do, just to make the most invisible secret object the trolliest necessary thing to complete the game. That's kind of what I'm expecting, frankly, at this point. But it is a fair point that the rocket cigarette has not been used. And, like, if we had the opportunity to create a distraction to, like, cause an explosion somewhere, that might prompt them to investigate that more urgently than shooting a gun at Bond. But I can't drop this there. Can I operate the cigarette case? I can't close the cigarette case. That's interesting. That's interesting. Does that make any kind of difference? I don't know, but that's interesting. Switch doesn't work, but that's fine. Plug it in and it will work. Like, I can't think of... It's so tricky because, like, on the one hand, you try to think of... You try to think of a solution. You try to think, like, what would I do? Like, what actions can my characters perform here? And then you can think of a scenario that might play out a certain way if you do a certain thing. And then after you get to that point, you still have to, like, figure out how you would act that out using the game's mechanics. And again, if it doesn't work, you can't know if it's because the idea was wrong or your method of inputting it was wrong. And for the most part, even stuff with, with the fingerprint, with the glass stuff, like, I was on the right track. Like, I was stuck for several hours, but within the first like 5 minutes, I had the basic gist of what I was supposed to do. And I think that's usually been the case. And if we were to go on that, then my natural instinct that I need to take out Otto is, that could very well be correct. It could be that I have to use the operate command at an extremely specific point. It could be that I have to click a certain pixel, It could be that I need to create some additional kind of distraction or do something before, like whether it's something I set up here or once I get into the room before the chaos starts. All right, Havoc, well, see you around. So if I restore this, we have a few seconds to do something before the chaos starts. So we can operate the cigarette case. I don't see any point in it. I can't close the case right now. That's interesting. Oh, never mind. I did close it. Okay. Not achieving anything. Guess we can operate it and open it. Oh. Okay, it did open the case. Yeah, we're just getting some kind of buggy messages here. I replayed the message from the trap room once again, just like when we examined the door. It plays a message from a different room. Oh, shit. I didn't realize which verb I was in there. I didn't mean to operate that again. I thought I was in the use. I guess you can see in the background. I wasn't paying attention. Operate this. Nope. Use is what I meant. Use cigarette. Oh, power plant. It's a new hotspot. Destroying. Okay. What if we? It's like I did nothing. Absolutely not. Okay. A random power plant. Could the emulation be making the timer too fast? I guess KV has the answer there. But it's a good point that you can adjust the game speed. Like in the first part of the game, when you're at the meeting and your contact gets killed, the guys show up to arrest you very quickly, so you have to get out of there real fast. And lowering the game speed, Bond will move slower and everything, but you have like the margins for inputting the commands are a little bit wider. So technically, if I lower the game speed, the time to bring up the command windows would, be milliseconds longer, maybe. But yeah, it sounds like it's a it's pain in the ass regardless. Nothing interesting. Joke. Okay, too late. But that implies to me also that there's nothing like I wouldn't, which it's not something I thought would be the case, but hypothetically one could imagine a scenario in which you create there's additional steps to the diversion, which this, like, after the timer runs out, there's an explosion or something happens and you kind of return to having a more lax kind of pace for inputting stuff. but you saying that it's a pain makes it seem to me that you have to actually do something here. Take auto, no need. Ah, it's so difficult. Again, it could just be that auto has to be in the right frame. It's fair enough, okay. It's just like I'm at a point where I'm gonna read a lot into any kind of comment that anyone makes. So I'm just I'm not putting anything on you. I'm just explaining my train of thought. Dampening. Speak with him, no answer. And okay, oh. I was like, wait, what is he saying? Like, oh, okay, I think you said it before. I just like, if you try to do anything, you're gonna click past so many messages that it's that you start to not really recognize them. Thing. Do anything. Care isn't a thing. The acid pen. Watch. And basically, like anything that gives me that message of like nothing's happening, I don't think that's the kind of thing that's going to make a difference if I try to do it at a slightly different point. And locate the location of the noise. Anything else going on? Okay, if I hover the cursor there, it's... Okay, so waiting till 0 doesn't make a difference. The way... With the... How insistent the game is on not letting us operate auto, I don't think that's the command. Doesn't seem like it. Alright, I will say at this point, I really don't want this to go on for another stream. Like, I would like to wrap this up at this point. I mean, hopefully there's very little left here. I don't have a problem with getting a bit of assistance. I just need to think of what's a good way of... Well, I guess, okay, here's a reasonable question to ask that I guess KV or maybe someone else in chat would know the answer to. Do I need to do something else before entering this room? Did I, like, miss doing something? No. Okay, so we're good. Can I load this save file and progress? Like, or do I need to have done something slightly differently? Okay. Okay. That's good to know. That means I won't waste time walking around in the hallway. But it doesn't... I mean, it's a good way... It's a good hint in the way that it doesn't actually really tell me anything. It allows me to focus on wasting time on the right thing as opposed to wasting time on the wrong thing. But I'm not much closer to figuring out what the heck I'm actually meant to do here. Mention of the cigarette has me, unless I'm like I use the pen to ignite the cigarette. Not. Like I did nothing. Do anything. We can try to use everything auto just to see if we get any kind of reaction. Oh, now it's going to be really hard. Won't do anything. I think I clicked myself. I did nothing. Ah! Ah, this is so... Oh my god. You have to like double click super fast. Because your one click will remove the text message, and then you have to, before the next one shows up, you have to click once again. Ugh, alright. um ugh. Yeah, I feel like the thing is too, like I don't feel like this would be super satisfying to even figure out, because at this point, if I solve it, I don't think it's because I was clever and figured out like a genius idea. I feel like I managed to click the right thing at the very specific time and place. It's like exploding this seems like it would be create a bigger distraction, but at the same time, I guess we need the CD player to work. We're not gonna like you know, black out the entire room and stop everything from working. That wouldn't really help. Or actually, let's talk. Ah. Mm. Don't move or I'll shoot. Well, he's gonna shoot me anyway. Not sure I've seen the point and click with clever ideas won out over brute force. No, I mean, I think that's, I mean, I think this is a pretty extreme case, and there are certainly plenty of games to do this where like your manual dexterity and like cursor precision and being fast is like what determines victory. But for it to be so the timing aspect of like the extremely slim you know, milliseconds of time you get to do input anything makes it really weird. Like I did nothing. No result. Elastic band. Nope. Like, yeah, using it on something else doesn't, like, that... I would have been able to do that before. That was what I was supposed to do. I'm pretty sure I did this during the chaos before. Yeah, the fact that this little box appears means that the input was entered successfully, but there's just absolutely no reaction. Silence. Yep, he'll shoot me if I try. Like right now, I'm mostly just trying to think, how could I narrow down the, like, what I'm meant to do here without outright getting the solution, or outright, like, I mean, honestly, even if I was told exactly what I'm meant to do, can I even trust that it's that I can figure it out from there, or is it still going to take 20 minutes of you know, fevered clicking to even get there? I don't know. That doesn't seem, at this point, impossible. um mm, oh man, again, I'm just like racking my brain trying to think of, how do I even ask a question, a reasonable question, as to like what would get me closer to a solution without having it spelled out. Um, oh. Now I'm almost regretting saving what I did, because having those few extra seconds before this all starts kind of help. It's happening. That doesn't work. Hmm. All right. How about this, I guess? Do I use an item from my inventory with the use command? Is that what I'm supposed to do during the chaos situation? Like, do I wait for the distraction to start and then use something on something else? Like in the room, I guess. See, that's the thing. That's a hint that, like, yeah, okay, it saves me the trouble of trying to operate things or talk or doing something first. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I tried using the elastic band on Dr. Y, on the girl, on Otto, on the CD player, on the computer. Like, I think I tried using it on pretty much everything. I tried using the red cigarette on pretty much everything. I tried using the CD on at least a few things. I mean, there's certainly items that I have not tried to use on things. Um, yeah, the pen and the watch. I guess we'll, okay. Camera. The new hotspot. I didn't see that before. Doesn't work. Yeah, like I basically the technique here is I wait for this to show up, and then I have the item loaded up, and then I like double click really fast. And that didn't work. So I'm still like, I'm not like coming up with a clever idea to do something. I'm absolutely at the point of like purely brute forcing this. So I feel like I want a structure. I want a method, as opposed to just doing things as I think of them. The problem with doing that is not that it's like slower, to reach the solution, but it's more so that I can't as easily keep track of what I have tried and what I have not tried. And as we learned with the fingerprint stuff, like, it's very easy to have thought that you tried something when in fact you didn't. Computer. And again, like, I feel like I could be wrong, but it's like a command that gives me that kind of response doesn't seem like it would suddenly not give me that kind of response if I use it now. So I guess let's try using the red cigarette on everything. Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, I thought I had tried that, but I guess I had tried it on pretty much everything in the room except for this thing. I can also fire it at will without a lighter, by the way. Well, that's how progress is made. You fire your explosive cigarette at the central computer, which monitors and controls the whole island, especially its stabilizers. Without it, the whole place should be in serious danger. Yeah, I tried on the power plant. I definitely tried the elastic band on this thing. I may have tried another cigarette, but not this one. All right, we used the red cigarette. Without the manual, I would have finished it quicker. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like, the idea that it needs to be lit to actually fire is confusing, but it's also, you know, that's combined with the fact that if you try to do something with it earlier, you like poke at it and it explodes. It doesn't like fire the rocket, or at least as far as the game tells you, it doesn't. It just explodes in your hands. So it's like extremely far from clear that you could actually fire the rocket. Anyway, let's see what happens. Whole place should be in serious danger. What's happening? Wait, what? Where did that go? Do something. Otto, I order you to stop this right now. Do you understand, Otto? Ah! Help! Oh, am I creating a distraction by having this fucking fly around? Which is not... Bond, I don't know if I was in control there. Probably. Don't believe that your gadgets make an impression on me. Oh, no, it did blow up. Okay. No, he has destroyed the main computer of the island. We're doomed. You will get what you deserve, Mr. Bond. Don't move or I'll shoot. Okay, we're not... Okay, well, we're not done just yet. I guess that's what I was supposed to do. But I guess we also have, like, you sort of get an extended timer there. So actually, let me try to do this right now. Watch out! Otto saw you. Okay. See, this is the exact kind of hint I was looking for. Like, hint, but you know, when you get this message, that obviously means, okay, this would work if he's not, you know, if he's distracted. So I'm going to fire this, and then I'm going to do another save. As soon as the diversion started, I fire this off. And now being able to even bring up the system menu to save is going to take some dexterity. Okay, we're in a cutscene technically, so I can't save.
Look, you!
Okay, but that also means that I can't perform any commands. Y-Road, thank you for the follow. Alright. That means the time we actually have... That means I can't interact during this whole thing. But now I can. Okay. But I have like basically a split second. And now we can do it. Okay. Dude, this is so stupid. And again, just from how, like, what you're doing, the commands you're supposed to input, and everything, like that all makes sense. It's fine, but the timing of it is so fucked that like it's kind of the same thing almost when I attacked the guard in the bathroom. Like I was able to successfully do it a few times, and every time I did, I felt like I was bugging something out. Anyway, Mr. Bond, you will pay heavily for that. Julia will be my first victim. See about that. That's pretty good. Help, James, help me. Julia, hold tight. I'm on my way. Oh, okay. 295. We're pretty pretty short on time here. It was at like 312, 315 or something. Okay, you insert the compact disc in the CD-ROM player. Now the stealth won't have radar cover anymore. It will now be easily destroyed by the proper agencies. I mean, it will drop bombs on Washington, D.C. in about 2 seconds. Help, James, help me. Julia, hold tight. I'm on my way. Okay. CD-ROM. Okay. Like, what do we even... Okay. Is this a hole in the floor? Nope, I guess not. Well. Too bad. You should have succeeded in countering the plans of the diabolical Dr. Y, but your lack of cool lost the game for you. Everything around you fades to black, and soon the secret base of Spider has turned to rubble in which you will rest forever. Was I just too slow? Or did I not wear my elastic band? Or is it the opposite? Am I being too fast? Let me stand around and see. Okay, nope. It was not did not appear to be triggered by me walking into the door. Okay. Everything falls in around you. I've got to get out of here, you think. Oh, there they are. Oh, a little silhouette. Oh, shit. She's knocked out. Oh, shit. Okay. Do we tie an elastic band? Oh, dude. If I don't get to use the elastic band, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. Oh, dude, holy shit. Holy shit, this is pretty sick. Alright. The sharks are ready. This is how your adventure ends. Alright, okay. I have an idea here. Gotta be fucking fast, though. I won't do anything. Oh, what am I even supposed to click? You have like 1 second. Okay, let's actually slow it down. A bomb? Okay. Okay, you secure the bomb with your elastic band. Lifeboat! Okay. That was probably important. Operate. No, use. Lifeboat. On! Wait, operate! I'm too late. Ah, fucking verbs in this game, man. Use elastic band on bomb. Yeah, fucking the mythical, the legendary elastic band. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. We have to find out what happens if you don't do it. Let's see if we can figure out the lifeboat. Right, that's how you do it. Okay, you pull the cord on the inflatable life raft. It starts to inflate. I don't know where it came from, but alright. Don't worry anymore, Julia. Everything is okay. No need to be scared. We have finally gotten rid of that crazy Dr. Y. Our mission is completed. Are you sure, James? If I were you, I wouldn't count your banana skins before they're peeled. That's a Santa Paragua saying. I mean, it's probably gonna blow something up, right? And yeah, pretty much, not literally the last command, but like I said, the elastic band comes into play at the very last moment. He's gonna drop the bomb on us? Is that the idea here? Nyarik, 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 whatever that word's supposed to be. Bond, I still have an ace up my sleeve. You're going to pay for this. It seems that Dr. Y hasn't forgotten you. Your adventure ends here. I mean, not like very spectacular, but I still wanted to see that play out. Alright, let's use the elastic band on the bomb. Yeah, getting here with, like... Yeah, you wouldn't... I mean, I guess, even in this scenario... Especially if you're able to understand or see that the bomb is a hotspot that you can interact with, then you could at least piece together that you might need an item to do something with the bomb. But you wouldn't think to search the bottom of the ocean for a rubber band. Operate lifeboat. Starts to inflate off screen. Whole animation of him landing. Don't worry anymore, Julia. Everything's okay. Need to be scared? We've finally gotten rid of that crazy Dr. Y. Our mission is completed. Are you sure, James? If I were you, I wouldn't count your banana skins before they're peeled. That's a Santa Paragua saying. We'll see. Let's see how this works out. Yes, we had to find the ocean rubber band. Fucking manual. I can't believe how much it lied and confused us. I mean, without it, we definitely would not have figured some shit out, because it's like, you wouldn't have any idea. Like, using the pen to unlock the, or to melt the lock of the cage. Like, that's not something I would have thought to do if I hadn't known that the pen... Well, I mean, you get the pen in the case, so maybe you would think that it's a gadget of some kind. But like, I don't know, there's a lot of shit that you kind of need the manual to at least tell you which items are Q gadgets. But as far as how they actually function within the game, it is completely inaccurate to how it's described in the manual. You pay for this? Alright, okay. Most spectacular animation, but pretty good. The animated rubber band. Alright. I guess we defeated Dr. Y. Unique artwork. Oh my god, okay. Dude, her walk, so good. Animation is really cool, like the character art in general. So beautiful. Oh, there we go, unique arc. Mr. Bond, in the name of the free people of Santa Paragua, I have today the honor and privilege to award you the Santa Paragua Republic Order of something something. Let me slow down. Now declare that today will be national holiday to commemorate James Bond for liberating our beautiful country. Holy shit. Thanks again, Mr. Bond. Okay. This also does not seem particularly Bond-like. Okay. I think she was prettier in game, but that's cool. The end. Pretty goofy ending. Well, we did it. We did it. Thanks for the applause. Thanks for the GGs. Oh boy, this was something. I think this game had very, you know, it's got highs and lows. Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess that's time, huh? User's manual. Shout out to Michael Sport Touch for the horrible descriptions that only created confusion. Oh, I'm exhausted. Like, I think as far as like, you know, recommending this game, or like, you know, what would you think of this game without the, or outside of the context of playing it for something like what I'm doing here, you know, I would never really recommend it, because the cool things that happen in the game and the graphics and everything, they really don't make up for the frustration and lack of satisfaction. Hope you had a great time with James Bond, and we thank you for your support. You know, I mean, I had a good time all in all, but this is not a good adventure game. Like, as far as the game design goes, it has a lot of problems. But having said that, like, playing this doesn't make me less excited about the prospect of playing Future Wars. Because I reckon the level of kind of artistry and spectacle will probably be even greater in that game, right? But yeah, it was interesting. It was like surprising in a way, because I think the specific kinds of issues that the game had is not what I would have expected. Like the soft lock, like missing item stuff was a very, very minor thing, all things considered. I mean, I'm glad I didn't get all this way before realizing the whole rubber band situation. But it doesn't make that much of a difference, because if I'd waited this long to go back to grab it, you know, getting back to this point would still have been relatively quick. Having to do the climax twice, I guess, would be kind of, you know, take a little bit of wind out of my sails. But yeah, I was gonna say, you know, that's kind of why I mentioned Future Wars and not Cruise for a Corpse. I think Cruise for a Corpse is cool. It's I mean, it's up there in cool adventure game titles. There's, you know, it's a very good title. I think that's like getting me on board already. But yeah, without knowing the specifics of the game, like I do recall it having like the time mechanic, and like time mechanics in, like, I think time management as a resource is a highly compelling mechanic conceptually. It's a big part of why Dead Rising is one of my favorite games of all time. But it has to, like, you know, time management as a mechanic being conceptually intriguing does not mean that like having real-time progression or limited time makes any game better by any stretch. And I think for a game like this, for this sort of game, I mean, I'm sure you could have a timer element, or, you know, progression of time be designed and work in such a way that it's like mechanically meaningful and rewarding and compelling. But what it typically tends to mean is that like you have additional pressure, and it's easy to miss things, and you can like fail the game due to things that feels like it's out of your control. And it's also on a more foundational level, like kind of counter to the most basic premise of point-and-click adventures, which is that you kind of do get to spend your time pondering what it is, like your next move and what you're supposed to do. So I think incorporating timer mechanics in an adventure game like this requires being very, very careful with how it works. And based on my experience with this game, the designers at Delphian Software do not strike me as the kind of people who were very careful, or in fact at all careful, about the implications of how their mechanics worked. Like, this game isn't designed to be a dick. It just is, because it can't help being a dick due to how it works. Layering on top of that a system that it's like kind of deliberately gonna make the game more difficult. Yeah, I would love to see Cruise for a Corpse. I think visually it's cool. But I mean, this game was carried by the Bond thing in the context that we're playing all these Bond games, so we get to compare it to the other ones. But if I were to play this on a whim, I don't think I would be very pleased with it in the end. Or to put it another way, as I mentioned a few times during this playthrough, a friend of mine had this game when we were kids, and I don't recall us ever getting anywhere. We got to the town. I don't think we figured out the Razor message. I don't think we got to the meeting. Like, I literally don't think we really got, we got out of the airport. That was as far as we figured out puzzles, as far as I can remember. And having played it now, no part of me is really feeling like, man, we missed out, or like, man, I wish we would have stuck with it. I wish we would have played through it because it would have been so cool to play this as a kid. I feel like, you know what, man, I'm glad we didn't waste our time trying to figure this shit out and instead played better games. So I think that's kind of the ultimate verdict. Not exactly a timer, but more like a set of triggers. Yeah, like I said, I haven't played it, so I don't know how it works, but it's like it can work out in a few different ways, but normally, like, if I think of stuff like Uninvited or was it called Rise of the Dragon? Those games have like global timers, and there's other games that kind of, you can only do things at a certain time. I want to say Darkseid has like a really obnoxious timer thing going too. But even something like I don't know, Gabriel Knight, or something where there is a progression of time that's like strictly tied to the narrative. Yeah, Colonel's Bequest I think has some kind of like it doesn't have a timer necessarily in a strict time limit, but it has a timer in the sense that there is a global clock and events in the game happen at certain points tied to that clock. Like even King's Quest 3 has that in a pretty bad way too. Like no matter how it works, like it's still something, even if it's completely benign, in that like I mentioned, Gabriel Knight I think is a decent example where, if I recall correctly, it's you do certain things, you progress, and then it's like, well, it's the day's over, I'm gonna go sleep, now it's the next day, and in the next day certain things have changed. If it's like more granular than that, like with Last Express, where it's like a clock that ticks, and I think that it actually has a real-time element, I forget, but whatever the point, or whatever the case, the point is that like if it sort of resets or changes the world, and in terms of like what's available, who's present, what you can interact with, and what changes, even if it's not like a timer or a resource you have to manage or something like that, it can still create a little more ambiguity as to like what you can interact with and how stuff works, and the feeling of having missed something. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I just mean that, like, again, you have to use something like that with caution from a design perspective. And I'm sure there are games, even with the actual like timed things, like I'm sure there are games that do it well, but I think there are probably more examples of where it's not really done well or doesn't really add much. Exactly, KB, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Having not played that game, it surprises me not at all that it would be something like that. And that's exactly what I mean. Like, the worst case scenario is like what you're describing. You walk up to an item, you try to pick it up, and it's like, nope, no use, no need, that would, like, absolutely not, it would be a waste of my time. And then like some other trigger has happened, and then for no reason, there's no justification, all of a sudden you are allowed to pick it up. Like stuff that makes it easy to kind of dismiss things for them to then actually matter. I mean, it's a very different type of game and a different experience, but there was a little bit of that in the Famicom Detective Club remake. Not exactly the same thing, because of course the games function pretty differently, but I remember feeling frustrated with it because the progression triggers started feeling like they had no connection to like my decision making as to what I was exploring or doing. So it kind of boiled down to just like, well, let me just kind of brute force these menus and see what, you know, travel to the places I have available randomly, do these things, because every now and then you suddenly bump into something that's like, well, you've hit a progression trigger somewhere and now you're allowed to do something. And when you have that, like, it creates kind of a disconnect between you and your kind of decision making and you know, what the game is kind of allowing you to do, and when the game decides that it's time for you to make progress. And that can be quite demoralizing, I guess. Like, you kind of you can get kind of pulled out of it, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected Gamerlight to be bad with it. Certainly not beyond the typical Sierra level of frustrations with that kind of thing. But I'm just using it as an example of a game that has time as an element, but it's not exactly a mechanic. But you could very easily see a game that works or is presented in a very similar way that does allow you to progress past. I mean, it's no different from a game that geographically puts you in a different place. But like anything, it just can be abused and misused. Anyway, guys, I'm very happy to finally be done with this. We have more games coming up. The Stealth Affair has been completed, and the next game will be Lord Bromley's Estate. One of two ZX Spectrum light gun games released as part of the James Bond 007 Action Pack bundle. Without having done too much research here, I'm going to assume that we might also be playing Q's Armory on the same stream. I'm not fully convinced that either of these games will warrant a full stream on their own. I did get all of this set up on my old computer. I know that I had it took a little bit of trial and error, but I know that I got it working with some emulator, and I was able to use mouse input to simulate the light gun. But I don't think I have all that up and running on my new PC, so it's going to take a little bit of off-screen finagling to make sure I have it working. But I think it is just as well, because we have EVO Japan coming up, and like I said, I'll probably not be streaming on Saturday, or at least not during regular hours. We might squeeze in something Saturday night or something. But on Monday stream, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fighting game shit to watch and talk about. And quite frankly, I can use a little bit of a break from Bond at this point. So I will endeavor to get everything set up. And I'll try to have something ready next week sometime, maybe. And we will, whenever we get to it, move on to Lord Bromley's Estate, and most likely Q's Armory as well. But that'll be it for tonight. I'm very satisfied to be able to put this behind me and move on to bigger and better things. I will be back, probably not on Saturday, but certainly on Monday. Keep an eye on my Discord for updates on what may be happening with the stream. I mean, yeah, Atomic Runner, that's, I mean, yeah. But I think the bigger thing is just that it's been a lot of streams all in a row of this. Like, I look forward to kind of mixing it up with something else. I would like a palate cleanser regardless. I don't intend to go like on a break. I just mean that the next stream is probably not going to be Bond. Almost assuredly not. And maybe not the one after that. I'm eager to move on to other games. It's going to be nice to play some smaller, simpler games that's not going to quite test my patience or my brain power, at least not in the same way. But since I may have to take a short break setting things up, as luck would have it, I don't quite mind. But that'll be it for tonight. I'll see you guys in the near future. Until then, take care. Have a nice rest of your week. Enjoy Evo Japan if you're going to be watching it like I am. It appears that Lord Bilbo is playing some impenetrable video game software on his stream. So if you haven't had quite enough of that kind of thing here, you can enjoy some more of that on his stream. So let's go raid Bill and enjoy more inscrutable gaming. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you around. Take care, and bye.